funny. I did Ohio. I did Columbus, Ohio. I did a theater, and then I did the Gathering of the Juggalos, which is an outdoor, the Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, okay.
Their fans are Juggalos.
They're still around?
Oh, yeah. And they have these crazy fans. Like, their fans are so nuts, the FBI tried to classify them as a gang, but then the ICP fought them in court and won that they're not a gang. It's just they're a bunch of fans.
Are they dressing like clowns also?
Some do. They wear the makeup.
Okay.
But a lot of them just look like maniacs. And
are you friendly with the ICP?
Yeah. No, I know those
Okay.
guys. And I've done they had a TV show at one point, and I did that. And they're nice guys. They're really mellow guys off stage.
Cool.
So it's a gig comedians hate to do because you wind up getting yelled at and screamed at, and there's been video of shit getting thrown at people. So a lot of comics don't want to do it. But I've done it once and did well, and did it. This year was a little easier to get to. Like 3 years ago, it was back in the woods. It was fucking really creepy.
What up, everybody? It is Pulver. I'm here with Chris. What up, dude?
What's up, dude?
Holy shit. It is Friday. We are recording this actually a day later than we normally do. Because we're both lagging this week. It's been a hell of a week. I don't know about you. I've been crippled all week. Because
I've been crippled with money.
hey,
tell you that.
There's worse. Oh, you're saying not good crippled with money.
Yeah. I mean,
like you didn't.
Money has crippled me.
Yourself.
Money has crippled
Right.
me. Yeah.
At first, I imagined like if somebody unloaded a truck full of dollar bills on you.
I wish that'd be fun. I mean, a paraplegic but rich, that'd be cool.
I mean, there's worse things.
Yes.
There's also better things though.
Yeah.
Like moving. That was a truck.
And I was gonna say that was a
got that?
Yeah. Kind of.
It was a sweet U-Haul pun. Anyway, I don't know how we got here or why we started that conversation. Anyway, this is the Sound of Violence podcast. If you haven't listened before, we have 3 segments. First segment, we talk about any MMA podcasts that we've listened to throughout the week. Second segment, we talk about any cards that we watched. And then the third segment, we will break down the upcoming cards, which I am fucking hyped for. Let's go ahead and start off with podcasts. You know what? Right off the bat, let's go ahead and jump into what was the assigned podcast this week? Oh, wait, I should say before we start, I am cracking a Ballast Point rum and ginger canned mixed drink, which is fucking fantastic.
So I might have to actually try a sip.
Dude, absolutely.
Since I declined on the shot of the unofficial sponsored podcast, of course,
right.
Pop Off Vodka.
That's right, the unofficial sponsor. Shouts out to the Doug Stanhope podcast, who it is also the unofficial sponsor of.
Thank you, sir.
As well as Back to the Future 1, which it is the official sponsor of. It's not bad, right?
Yeah, that's good. I remember I've had the Bloody Mary one's always fantastic too.
It's kind of like a light and stormy rather than a dark and stormy. It's light rum and it's basically just like a rum and ginger with a. But oh man, it's real tasty.
Wonder if it's like the white 3 sheets that they have. You know the rum that they.
It is.
Okay.
It's the white 3 sheets and it's their ginger beer that they make in house.
Yeah, that's really crisp. That's good.
Fucking fantastic. I recommend it. Also, their Bloody Mary is really, really good, although really, really, really hot. So if you're adverse to really spicy stuff, I wouldn't do it. I've never had their gin and tonic, although I've heard it's good.
Oh yeah, the other colored cans.
Right,
yeah.
But I have had their rum and coke, which is obviously great. It's just their homemade or their in-house made cola along with their basic 3 sheets rum, which is great. Anyway, way off topic. We are going to go ahead and jump right into podcasts we listened to last week. Since it is the week of UFC 201, I assigned you the Morning Wood Show with Dees Nuts, which is Tyron Woodley and Dean Thomas. It is fucking... It's a very underrated show. I feel like it doesn't get nearly enough play. But what did you think of it? You know... Well, let's start off. You knew of Tyron Woodley just because of the UFC, right?
Yeah, I've known him just by watching the UFC. I've heard his name, pre-UFC before, right. Way back when.
Like you probably saw the Condit fight.
Yeah.
You saw probably his fight against Ellenberger or something like that way back in the day. Maybe Koscheck, something like that.
The Koscheck one, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he beasted on Koscheck, and Have you did you watch the movie not Boys in the Hood, Straight Outta Compton?
No, actually, it said I haven't seen that yet, and I know it's out there now digitally.
Yeah, so he's one of the extras in Straight Outta Compton.
Oh,
Evidently,
nice.
Tyron Woodley is.
Okay.
Which is funny. And that leads us into the other host of the podcast, Dean Thomas. Do you know anything about Dean Thomas?
I've heard of that name, but I didn't know he was associated with Woodley. I'm assuming like he's his training partner, or his manager, or coach, something like that.
Yeah, so Dean Thomas is an ATT guy. He has been forever. He also fought in the UFC a lot.
Oh yeah, because I remember I listened to episode 31. That's at least that's the latest one I saw when I went to their website or from SoundCloud.
Yeah,
but
it's from like a week or two ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was I think 3 days after 200.
Yeah,
3 or 4 days because I know
maybe like 3 weeks ago.
I mean, come on, Woodley's always training.
Well, he's in the middle of a training camp.
Yeah,
so.
But yeah, sorry, you were talking about Thomas. Didn't want to interrupt you. You were saying he was a UFC fighter at one point as well.
Yeah, Dean Thomas was a motherfucker. Here, we'll pull up a shirt dog, actually. He fought everybody. I'm pretty sure him and Matt Serra fought. He was around for a long time. He was kind of the Jen Pulver era. Matt Serra.
I see. Okay.
Eve Edwards.
So does he date back to at least 15 years ago? Kind of circa 2001?
Yeah. About right around then. Here, we'll pull up a shirt dog. Because he when we say 2001, he fought from like 95 to like way after that, I think. No, I'm wrong. 98.
98, okay.
So
almost 20 years.
A bunch of WEFs, Shudo card, and then UFC. His first UFC fight was against BJ Penn in 2001. He also fought against Fabiana Iha. He had way more notable ones, Matt Serra. And then later on, he fought like just straight contenders: Rich Clementi, Clay Guida, Jeremy Stevens, Kenny Florian, Josh Neer. You know what I mean? It's just like a bunch of assassins. Cody Bollinger, Georgie Karakhanyan. Dean Thomas, and he's an old school ATT guy. Like, has been repping the ATT flag forever. But yeah, so that's why him and Tyron know each other, is through ATT. But Dean Thomas, evidently, some things I've heard about Dean Thomas. Number one, he's done like 3 or 4 years of improv in Florida.
Okay.
Improv comedy. Also, he was on the Looking for a Fight show that they did where they did stand-up.
He mentioned that, with Dana and Matt Serra.
Yeah, and he killed it.
I remember even Matt Serra on UFC Unfiltered talk about, I think he mentioned that too when he did stand-up when he was talking with Jim Norton.
Yeah.
He was talking about how Jim was just giving him kind of his thoughts on how, when it's your first time doing it, you just kind of wing it, almost like an improv. Yeah, you just kind of do what you can.
Well, also those dudes have done so much stage time just in front of crowds and stuff. Like, they know that they have a good story that they could tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially Dean Thomas and Matt Serra. Those dudes have been around forever. They have crazy stories. Matt Serra's, the Unfiltered podcast alone proves that. Just because Matt Serra's constantly telling ridiculous stories on that show.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you're a family man, too. You got a lot of stories just from your kids alone.
And from shitting yourself on the treadmill, as we learned on this week's podcast.
Yes.
That we'll get into at some point. Anyway, we should jump actually into the podcast. But Dean Thomas and Tyron Woodley, first off, are hilarious together. They're weird counterparts, but... Man, so Dean Thomas is the main coach, and also he is great at breaking down film. He's been working with Tyron, and Tyron has the upcoming fight. So on this week's podcast, do you remember what they talked about?
Yeah, I wrote down some notes, actually.
Which I should be doing more of.
Basically, this is what I wrote down. They basically talked about their thoughts of post-UFC 200, PED talk concerning
a lot of Mark Hunt talk.
Yeah, concerning Chad Mendes, Brock Lesnar, John Jones, Mark Hunt's thoughts on the issue. They talked about the certain procedures, how come Brock was allowed to continue to fight in the card and John Jones wasn't. They also talked about, we'll get into this in a second, what does it mean to be the face of the UFC, a la Conor McGregor? Woodley believes he could be a new face since he has a background besides fighting, being like a businessman.
He's funny as hell, too.
Yeah, I love his charisma, especially with Dean. I love the fact that they watch film. I love athletes who watch film. They study their opponents. You never really hear that a lot from too many athletes, too.
And Dean Thomas is a master breaking down film. Like, you can hire, even if you're an amateur, you can hire Dean Thomas for like $200-300 and just send him a bunch of links to your opponent, and he'll break down the film for you and send you an email back with it. Or there's like tiers where he'll give you a call or Skype or something like that about it. But yeah, Dean Thomas is a master at breaking down dudes' styles and being able to kind of develop a really solid game plan.
Because that's what I took away from more. The main focus was on PEDs and their thoughts on it. And of course, Woodley talking about how, he's a clean fighter. He says he's had to switch his diet up from time to time. He said he talked about where, Woodley talks about, I prefer to eat, drink protein shakes instead of just having the typical chicken breast with brown rice and veggies after training.
Right.
As far as some of the supplements, I can't really recognize some of the supplements because I haven't actually worked out in a gym in a long ass time. So
plus all that stuff all has a weird name.
Yeah,
and
I hear like the creatines and the certain things and all that. I don't know the names anymore. I mean, I'd have to actually be like a bodybuilder, start working out,
or give any fucks about it.
I mean, I'm not a dietitian either by any means, nothing like that. But
again, I would give a shout out to the Wait List with George Lockhart, which is a segment on the Three Amigos podcast where George Lockhart, the nutritionist, and Ian, I forget his last name, from whatever website Stephanie and Mookie are both from. Why can I not remember that right now? I want to say MMA Junkie, but I don't think that's right. It's not MMA Fighting either. Bloody Elbow. It's Bloody Elbow. But they have a great segment every week where they talk to George Lockhart, the nutritionist, and Ian is very good at breaking down the actual illegal ingredients and stuff dudes are getting popped for. So if you're looking for more info on that, absolutely should check that show out because it's really good. But yeah, any other notes on the Tyron Woodley and Dean Thomas part?
Yeah, they weren't. I mean, they both enjoyed UFC 200. It wasn't as I'll use the term electric, whatever, as you thought it would be, as it was build up to be, really.
Right, which is a weird idea. Like,
yeah, I mean, I get it. It was supposed to be
kind of exactly what I expected, except for Mish State.
Yeah, I mean, the main focus, like I said, was on PED stuff. Their thoughts on Chad Mendes, he got popped for what was a substance in the cream that he uses. A lot of people, some people don't know he has psoriasis, skin condition. So
he had a really interesting post about
however,
that.
the thing is, I think Woodley was the one who mentioned that what he should have done. I don't know if it was Woodley or I'm probably mixing another podcast, but what he could have done is he could have there's a way to do it where if you're using anything that's for therapeutics, like for your health, you can let USADA know and they can give you a pass per se depending on the actual cream or supplement that you're using.
Yeah, so, you can get an exemption. The problem is what Chael Sonnen has been talking about recently, where you can get an exemption for the product you're using, but if the product contains an illegal ingredient, then it doesn't work.
Yeah,
so like, even if they approve the actual, like the actual substance, if it pops up, then it still goes to negative, and that's how you have like all the supplement issues that like the old Romero style. Which is frustrating. There's no real good answer or clean answer for any of this shit, and there never will be, because that's how drugs work. I mean,
you just have to do your homework. That's all it comes down to. You really have to.
Well, no, what you have to do is be Demetrius Johnson, where Demetrius Johnson says, "Hey, I don't know what's on the ban list, and I don't have the time to figure it out because I train every day. So I'm just going to use water and food, and I'll go with that."
There you go.
And it's that's absolutely the right answer.
Yeah.
If it matters that much, like, dude, creatine, like, if creatine helps that much, creatine should be banned. How about that? Like, if it's fucking... If DJ is doing it, I have no sympathy for anybody else, because DJ is the best. Miles Jury made the same argument on the Underground way back in the day, which is, like, if dudes still pop, like, whether or not it was intentional, you still were on the drug during the fight. So that shit was, like, whether you meant to or not, that's the same fucking result.
Yeah, people can make some sort of protest if they want because you're still on that. You have that advantage whether you want to disagree. It's a fact of the matter, and I agree with the Demetrius Johnson thing. Why can't people? I mean, obviously everyone has their own body type. They make their weight their own way.
We should say, is very small, so he doesn't have a lot of the crazy neck and back problems.
But like you're saying, man, food and water, that's all it really should take. I mean, right? Can't you just get your natural proteins from food and then just get, to hydrate?
Dudes like George Lockhart think you can. That and like vitamin mixes.
I mean, I'm not a fighter. I'm not a bodybuilder. I agree though. I feel like you should just be able to use food and water, right? I mean, I don't know.
I just trust one of the baddest men on the planet, Demetrius Johnson. I'm like, yo, if he can do it, anybody can do it. So I think that'll be, and we'll have a lot more PED talk over this episode because I know for a fact we're going to bring up
mentioned a lot,
at least one podcast where certain wide heavyweight screamed a lot. So we'll get into that. One of the funniest dudes ever. That is going to be some clips on the podcast. Absolutely. So let's see. Anything? Oh, that's right. We barely have gotten through any podcasts. We've been rambling. Let's see. I should jump on one of the ones I listen to, right? So, you know what? I will start off right at the top of the list that I have up here. First thing I have is Jeremy Stevens on the Joe Rogan Experience. They do a lot of talking about the Conor McGregor and the featherweight division and PEDs. They cover kind of everything because it's Joe Rogan Experience. It's Jeremy's second time on, I believe. And also he had a thread on the UG, shout out, where he was talking about how he was going to come back on JRE. So it was just a good episode. Every time a fighter's on, there's a ton of great fight talk. He also confirms on that episode that Rogan is
he's
on
staying
board.
on for one more year, right?
Yep, staying on for one more year, but less overseas cards. So less international stuff for Rogan.
Oh, okay.
Which makes sense because he wants to stay in the States where he can still do shows.
So would they have Stan on there, possibly?
I would think they'd go Stan, or they'd do more of Florian, or not Florian.
Because Anna's Fox, right?
Hardy. I think they'll do more Hardy and...
not Tom Hardy, I'm dumbass.
Dan Hardy and... I forget the other... John...
Because Dan Hardy's British, right?
Yeah, and the other dude with the bow tie every time. I forget his name. John something.
Yeah.
But they're a great combo. I love all the... Honestly, I love pretty much anybody other than Goldie I'm a pretty big fan of.
Yeah. Gotta embrace that grind.
Yeah, when Florian's one of my least favorites, it's a good sign. Because Florian's still pretty great. But Brian Stan all day for everything, forever. As far as I'm concerned. Him or Chael. Or Frank Mir. Alright, so I wanted to bring that up briefly. That podcast, they do talk about how Joe's staying on. Overall, it's just a good, just generic Joe Rogan podcast. There's a lot of bullshit they talk about also. But they talk a ton about USADA. They talk a ton about Conor McGregor. And just kind of where Jeremy's at. They also discuss a lot of footwork talk. And a lot of weird semi-Ido Portal hippie shit from Jeremy. Which kind of worries me a little bit.
Like that he wants to employ him in a way for movement?
No, just like similar movement dudes. And like a lot of talk about neutral spine and shit like that, which is like keywords for me where I just like, I have a fucking, I'm triggered when I hear words like that.
Yeah, you're triggered.
Like when I hear movement coach, I'm just triggered immediately.
Yeah. Oh no.
So it was some weird parts of that podcast, but overall I enjoyed it a lot. Let's see. Why don't you jump into what's the next one you were going to talk about?
Let's see.
Also, I am vaping a e-liquid called Twonk. That's the noise you hear in the background.
I'll keep on with the Tyron, not Tyrone, Tyron Woodley.
Yeah, Dean Thomas, not Din.
Yeah, I know. But I could see how someone can make that mistake easily.
Both of those mistakes, yeah.
Yeah, I know how Wonderboy Tyrone Woodley, here on Fox. But I get it.
What are you going to do?
Anyways, I'll go to the episode of Unfiltered with Matt Serra and Jim Norton. This one is with Jason Ellis and Tyron Woodley is one I listen to because I know I've mentioned Jason Ellis quite a bit. I'm a huge fan of his show.
Yep.
SiriusXM Faction, unofficial shout out to him, of course.
Jason Ellis is a weird dude.
Yeah,
he has had so much. I'm glad that he's starting to recognize how much head trauma he's had and toning it down. As
someone who's listened to, I used to listen to a show like almost every day when I was delivering newspapers.
He's like He's like a less shitty Mike Vallely.
I mean, what I like about him is he's a really honest guy. He's not afraid to talk about his past, unfortunately, which is a lot of it's pretty tragic, man.
Right, it's a lot of like shitty abuse and drugs, and
that's what they discuss. And I'm glad he got to discuss it openly, and it was fun listening to him. He's a cool guy. I like him, and that's pretty much what he discussed. With Sarah.
Also, it's good hearing him and Jim talk because him and Jim are like different sides of the same coin, kind of.
In a way, yeah.
Like they're pretty similar but different. So they're both interesting dudes with weird takes on stuff, and they both love just being super super open, like blatantly open. which I respect to death. Like Patrice O'Neal style, where it's like, yo, all the good and all the bad, just everything.
Yeah, I don't know how many times we hear Norton talk about how creepy he is. Or something.
There's a billion stories of Norton being like, I love when I was in junior high. I used to just lie down on the ground behind bushes and have girls pee on my face through their underwear. It was great. Like there's a lot of old Loveline clips of Jim Norton.
That pretty much just epitomizes creepiness right there.
Yeah, it's
Jesus Christ.
Oh man, if you've never heard Jim Norton on the Patrice O'Neal show, no, it was the Black Phillip show, which is Patrice O'Neal's old radio show. Go look that up. I'll have a link in the description for this episode. Holy shit, the Black Phillip show was it's a moment in time that can never be regained. It's fucked up. But anyway.
But what I was going to say, with that podcast just continuing, when they had Tyron on there, Tyron discussed his Morning Wood podcast, with Dean Thomas, of course, on there. They were talking about his exposure to his podcast. They asked him, hey, when do you have time to do this? He was like, oh, usually sometimes, between training camps or before I have to go start training, I try to do as much as I can. He talks about how much he enjoys that doing with Dean.
They're actually they're not at the regular ATT. They're at their own ATT.
And the thing that was interesting to me is when he talked about how they're not even together when they do the podcast. They do it via satellite. I didn't even realize that. That was really interesting.
It's over Skype, yeah.
Yeah, so they're never actually in the same room. But they use a program to make it seem like it's kind of more like
Skype. It's exactly what we're going to do later.
Yeah, because for the record, I'm leaving in about like 20-something days.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but Chris is going to Rotterdam. I believe we talked about this at least an episode or two ago. But yeah, you're going to be in Rotterdam for like 6 months or 7 months, right?
About 5 months, maybe like 5 in a week, something like that. But quite a bit lengthy time. It's going
to be cool.
So yeah, we'll still keep the ball rolling. But
that's right. Oh, we've definitely talked about this on the show because I've talked about how I'm going to try and get you to do illicit drugs over there.
Yeah.
Because they're not illicit. So
exactly.
I'm calling them illicit.
Yeah.
But that should be interesting. It's going to be weird. I'm going to try. I keep saying I'm going to I'm gonna try to get a whole segment where Chris asks Dutch people if they know Bas Rutten. That's a segment. Like every time Chris goes to a bar, I'm gonna try and get him to record him asking some Dutch dude he meets whether they know Bas Rutten.
I'll make sure I ask someone who's not twice as big as me.
Oh yeah, no, ask them. Well, and that's gonna be tough because you're not tall, bro.
Exactly. No, I'm tiny, so I'll have to ask someone tinier.
Right. Or that, or just be like, hey, I'm a huge fan of Bas Rutten. Do you know Bas Rutten?
Just start with that.
Right.
Just start with that.
Right.
But yeah, just to end what Unfiltered talk about, Tyron actually talked about a lot. What he thought was indirect racism with how commentating goes today in MMA, and I thought it was really interesting. Never thought of it that way, and
it's an interesting discussion for sure.
And what I respected about that discussion is how everyone, including Sarah and Norton, just really respected everyone's opinions. There was no real any feeling of uncomfort, or any sort. Yeah, there's no real discomfort, not uncomfort. That's not a word.
Gotcha.
There's no discomfort or anything.
I would have missed it.
Everyone just talked it really intelligently. I know Tyron would talk about basically the main stereotype is how I know he mentioned Joe Rogan on there. It could be any commentator really, but like, oh, look at Tyron. He's gonna gas soon because he's a big, strong African American athlete or fighter, or something like that.
Which
right?
I get his point. The problem I have with it is there's a thing called like explosive muscle tissue.
Yeah,
and like that exact body type with explosive muscle tissue.
Yeah, more lactic acid.
Which he talked about numerous times on that same interview. Is also not known for cardio. Like that's how that works. Because
remember, he was defensive. I get it. He was like, oh, people said, oh, Tyron, you're just gonna gas, bro. Right. And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna go 5 rounds against Robbie. And hey, I believe him. He seems really. He said he has really good mentality with the fight going, especially when you listen to Morning Wood, man. That guy seems like he's all in, and I respect that. But yeah, like you were saying about the whole.
He's an interesting dude. Like I agree with him in some aspects of it, but also I think he's kind of just like. He's kind of leaning into his own.
I think he's a little too emotional.
It's convenient. A little bit, and it's like it's a. I see where he's coming from with it, and he's not wrong. He's just not necessarily right either. Like, there's no wrong or right in that
I just
really.
don't think that the argument is... The case that he's making isn't as strong as it should. I get it, though.
Right.
Like, I get where
Like,
he's coming from, but it's just like...
I would say the example he's using isn't the best example.
the examples
because
weren't as strong.
He's right that a lot of times black dudes do get labeled for not having as good cardio because they're more explosive. Absolutely, that's true. John Jones is a shitty example because that disproves your point.
Yeah.
Which is why he leaned into himself. The problem is...
Oh, same with the Demetrius Johnson.
Well, that's the other one.
Yeah.
But
I remember that too.
Right. So it's like one of those things where it's like, well... But the thing is because you're super jacked, bro. That's why.
Like, in a way,
that has more to do with it.
Like, I've never thought of it until now, but it's like, dude, Woodley looks like he should be fighting at 185 almost. Just how big he is.
He's humongous.
He's fucking giant.
He's got tree trunk legs, like for sure.
I mean,
He's
how tall is he, by the way? What's Woodley, like 6 foot? I don't even know, or 5'11"?
I'm not sure. Here, we can pull him up.
He must be 5'10". He must be short if he makes 170 at that size, I imagine, right?
It's got to be about that. Here, we'll pull it up right now.
Dude, he's got to be pretty
Woodley
short.
Is 5'9".
Yeah, he's short in quotes, whatever. But
Right.
for that weight class,
For that
technically,
weight class,
that's pretty
he's pretty
short.
small. Like Stephen Thompson's like what, 6 foot?
Yeah, he's like, dude, he's actually like 6'1".
Yeah.
Yeah. And long as
Right.
super long.
And Johnny's like 5'8", I think.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And Johnny's tiny.
There's
for
our
weight
point.
class.
That's why he's so shredded, because he has to be if he wants to make that weight, because he's smaller.
Well, he's just a
big-
thick dude.
yeah,
Like that
yeah.
dude's got tree trunks for legs.
Yeah, he's a wrestler. He's going to be a big guy, got a strong base, everything. But yeah,
I forgot how we got here.
basically we were just talking about his point of the just how certain fighters are built. There's the stereotype. There's mostly indirect racism and all that.
Yeah, which like
whatever you want to call it.
He has a good point, but I wish he would have picked a better example than himself.
He just kept flip flopping. He just kept flip flopping. Yeah,
and like he necessarily
totally get where he's coming from though. Anyway, so we should probably move on. What other?
I was gonna jump.
Yeah.
Actually, it leads me in perfectly to
Cool.
UFC Unfiltered, Robbie Lawler and Rose Namajunas, which was
that's the one that was before, huh? Yeah.
no, right after.
Oh wait, shit! When did they add that?
It came out
like yesterday.
It's number 12. It came out
shit.
on the 28th. So yeah, yesterday.
Damn. See, okay.
It's fantastic. Holy shit! First off, Robbie Lawler is as usual, cold as a motherfucking like hitman assassin. He's just so fucking cold, and he just gives the coldest answers, and you just hear a lot of cringe laughs from Matt Serra and Jim Norton, where they're like, "Oh Jesus, Robbie, tone it down with the crazy." But they also talk about Robbie eventually starts to open up a little bit, but man, it's just a lot of Jim Norton doing his usual I'm embarrassing myself comic routine while Matt Serra is talking to Robbie about like old Militich days. Also, what's cool about that podcast is right after they get off the phone with Robbie, they start talking about how Matt Serra and Matt Hughes have a huge beef, and Matt Hughes and Robbie Lawler are cool. And like, so it turns it like they just start talking about that whole history a little bit, and they start talking about like Dana White and Matt Hughes and Matt Serra. It's just like a weird little conversation. But that wasn't nearly as good as the second part of the podcast where they got Rose Namajunas on. Rose Namajunas, I don't know if you've ever heard any of her interviews. Have you seen her fight?
I've seen her fight, definitely.
The paid fight, at least.
Yeah, no, I saw that one, and I saw the fight. Shit, dude, who was it? Her last fight. Damn it. Esparza. Yeah, she beat Esparza. Yeah, I saw that one. It was a third.
Nope. Wasn't Esparza. It was Cheese Torres again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I'm totally wrong. It was Tisa Torres again. That's
Yep.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, Rose Namajunas is super personable and very, very open. She talks a lot about her history, how she has crazy history. Talks about her abuse history. She talks about how therapy she's been through. She talks about her fucking support dog she brings with her at a certain point.
Because I know she fights. She represents Lithuania on her kit. Is that is that where she's from? Or
no,
her
that's
family's
just her heritage.
Her heritage, yeah, I get it. Okay, because I know a lot of fighters do that. Like of course, Michael Chiesa, anyone like that. That's like the only Italian representative I've ever seen. Something like that.
Michael Chiesa did record He was the commentator for the Venator fights in Italy.
Oh, okay.
With,
that's actually
John
pretty...
Morgan.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
That was the one that where Mayhem Miller and Polaris both lost.
I was going to say, is that the one where Miller weighed in like 15 pounds overweight, something like that?
Like 25.
25,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He weighed up...
Jesus.
He was supposed to come in at 185. He came in at like
212, something weird.
Some crazy amount.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was weird. But yeah, I forgot where we were. What were we talking about?
Nami Yunus.
That's right.
The whole heritage thing, yeah.
Right, so she talks a lot on the podcast about just kind of her history and how she's been developing. She also talks a lot about her game plan for this fight and how she's developed because she's at Evolution. Is that the name of that? Elevation with TJ.
Oh, okay, in Denver, yeah.
Yeah, the snake.
And Matt Brown, yeah. I mean, whatever. It's kind of more or less a joke now, but it's
absolutely always been.
It's always been a joke.
You didn't think it was a joke for a little bit.
Okay, I shouldn't say it's a joke now. It's more just ignored now. You'll still get those trolls on Instagram, whatever. Posting
you are those trolls on Instagram.
Yeah, like twice.
But I was gonna say.
I'll say Matt Brown's there too, and so is some other guys.
Yep. Well, so Elliot Smith is the jiu-jitsu coach down there.
Okay.
Wait, is it Trevor Smith? No, Elliot Smith. Trevor Whitman. He's a striking coach who's been working with Rose. And she just talks about how her game plan has gotten way, way sharper. She actually talked about how she thinks she's going to get a lot more finishes. She mentioned multiple times how her grappling is getting more top-heavy, like you saw in the Paige Van Zandt fight. And she said she's getting way more comfortable to the point where she's getting really good at hitting, like at striking in transitions and in top control. And she said she thinks we're going to start seeing a lot more TKOs and KOs from her.
I can't wait, man. That sounds
absolutely
awesome.
I 100% think she's going to probably finish this fight just from ground and pound. From everything I heard from her and just the matchup in general. So we'll get into that in a bit. But it was just a very interesting interview. And Rose is just always like incredibly personable and really funny. Talks about how her mom and her brother are professional pianists and she knows how to play piano. Just a lot of weird, interesting stuff. And it's just a very personable interview. So I absolutely recommend checking it out.
I always like those interviews, though, where they kind of just go out of the way to kind of explain certain, not even oddities, but things you just don't know about their background. That's cool, man.
Yeah, that's some of my favorite stuff ever is the ones where you just learn about the people, like, and, like, their history and, like, where they're coming from and what they went through in the camp. Like, so much more interesting than, like, how you feeling for the fight? You feel,
yeah, it's the typical bullshit kind of just generic questions.
Right, like, did you have a good camp? Like that kind of stuff where you're like,
that kind of reminds me of like when Tyron was talking about in his interview, oh yeah, I grew up with 10 siblings. Never would have figured that. And he's
14,
like,
I think, or something 14, crazy. 14, yeah.
But I remember he said, yeah, my older sister was the bully of the neighborhood, and she would beat me with a box of frozen fish sticks.
Fish sticks,
or something like that. And I would pretend to have an asthma attack or something.
That's absolutely one of the breaks on this show. Absolutely. I'm making a note right now of it. That is absolutely one of the breaks on this show. Because that was a fucking hilarious clip. I was laughing my ass off. I'm writing fish sticks break right now, so we have that as a break on one of these. Man, it's just fantastic. So, what else did you listen to this week?
Let's see. The co-main event podcast with Ben Folks and Chad Dundas.
One of my favorites.
They had a lot to.
You're starting to like that show, huh?
I like it. What they talked about most from what I was listening. Where Holly Holm's at after her fight with Shevchenko, they know. Okay, the thing is, they know she could bring a lot to the table when she utilizes her strengths.
Yep.
But they feel like when she's not being chased, a la the Ronda Rousey fight.
Yep.
Then she kind of is just a little too tentative, and
that's why I love seeing Nunes and Holm.
Yeah, I mean, I see me included. I know Holly Holm could be champion again if she utilized all her strengths. She's at arguably one of the it is one of the top gyms in all of MMA, but arguably the best gym. Arguably Jackson Winklejohn.
Yep. Although Amanda's out of ATT.
Yeah.
And there's dudes down there. Dustin Poirier on one of the previous episodes of, I believe it was the Morning Wood Show, talked about how Amanda Nunes hits like a fucking dude. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Oh no,
yeah.
It's Chael's podcast.
Yeah.
Because Chael talked about, hey, I talked to Dustin. I believe it was Chael. He said, hey, I talked to Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier says Amanda Nunes hits like a fucking dude, but if she, I don't know if she can make it like past the 7 to 8 minute mark.
Because that reminds me too. That's what Donald Cerrone said about Holly Holm when they've trained or just sparred. Kind of, he's like, oh, Holly hits like a dude. Just why she's such a fucking powerful striker.
True, but not. They didn't say it the same way.
Yeah, not in the same way. Like. Yeah. No, I hear you. But
actually, Joe Warren on this week's Lineup MMA, he even made a joke. He's like, I don't even know if I want to fight Amanda Nunes. I saw that fight. I was like, fuck that.
Yeah, no, I remember he had that. But yeah, what I was gonna say is Lineup talked about. No, co-main, who I'm talking about now. They talked about Holly Holm and where she's at. Her performance is lackluster in their eyes. I tend to agree. I'm not going to take away with what Shevchenko did because it's absolutely fantastic what she did with the counter punching. Especially that counter right. Jesus, the whole time.
All night.
And in the clinch especially. So, then again, a lot of PED talk regarding Chad Mendes. He's 31 years old. He'll be 33 if he comes back. I imagine he'll be back, because he has a 2-year ban.
You got to imagine. I mean, it's weird that he didn't fight it more, but I think he was also just offered a coaching gig.
Do you think they'll keep? I mean, I imagine he obviously stays with Team Alpha Male, right? They're not gonna kick him out.
Well, that's the thing is, I think it was just convenient because he probably got offered a coaching gig at Team Alpha Male, like Justin Buchholz, and Chris Holdsworth both got offered gigs where if they don't fight and they're full-time coaches, they have full-time salary. So I'm guessing Chad got on that same thing where Chad's like, fuck it, man. I'll take the time off, be a full-time coach, fuck it.
Another thing, I won't talk too much PED stuff because that's talked about again in Lineup, which we'll get to in a second. But in co-main, Folks and Dundas talk about how it's, and I agree, don't like talking shit about stuff, but when it comes to Reebok, god damn it, dude, how does Holly Holm and Shevchenko get paid $2,500 for that main event? That is just criminal. On Fox. That's fucking criminal. Excuse me, but
Fox
that's just
cards
bad.
Notoriously was where dudes would make like 60 to 100 grand. And
I was gonna say, if I were to throw out a number right now, I'd say pair 60 grand for that.
Well, imagine,
at least.
Oh, dude, I would pay $2,500 to get our podcast name on Fox. The main event. Like, Jesus, I would easily
brought to you by the Sound of Violence.
I'd pay $5 grand for that shit right now.
Because everyone would be like, what the fuck's up? We gotta check it out.
Well, not only that, but like, that's just the idea that if I just pulled together like a couple paychecks worth of extra cash, I could easily pay for a sponsorship on mainstream television during primetime hours with my name plastered across the back of a pretty girl for fucking 15 minutes straight. Or 25, actually, theoretically.
Yeah, if it was a fight, that'd be sweet.
Ludicrous. Like, there's that would never happen. Dynamic fasteners.
Like, what does Holly Holm say? Oh, here's my check for gas money.
That's literally, especially in Albuquerque. I'm sure you have to drive over some mountains to get anywhere.
I mean, that kind of bummed me out almost. Like, fuck, dude, that's so stupid.
It's super ludicrous.
I know, at the end of their podcast, they talked about, and it got officially confirmed. I didn't even notice it got officially confirmed. It was always a rumor, but Bisping versus Henderson 2 is 204, right?
I believe so.
204, which, where the fuck is 204 at? I don't know where it's at right now.
I haven't looked it up yet.
Anyways, they were talking about what does this mean for Dan Henderson if he wins or loses. The rumor right now is Henderson says he will retire no matter what. But everyone says that. Yeah, no, but they were exactly saying to nullify that point, there's no way this guy's going to retire when he wins. Cause
Manchester is where it takes place. Good luck winning a decision, Dan Henderson.
Yeah, when Michael Bisping's like, what, undefeated? Something like that?
Oh, yeah, at home.
Or he has like one lot. No, I think he's undefeated. I think he is undefeated. Yeah, that's right. He just beat Silva there.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck. Give him the old left hook Larry.
Yep. Good.
But yeah, man, we could always talk about this fight later, but just a quick soundbite. What's your thoughts on this rematch?
I love it. Have you heard how this fight got made? Because Dana hated this fight.
No, but you did mention me prior to us about to... Just say it again real quick. Refresh my memory.
Rogan mentioned on his
That's
podcast
right.
that he texted Dana and was like, set up Bisping Anderson. And Dana's like, no, we can't do that fight. Dan Anderson's ranked number 13.
I was going to say, ruins the
It's
integrity of the
ridiculous.
sport.
Like, we can't set that up. And Joe Rogan was just like, he talked about the podcast, he just kept texting Dana like, yo, I get that, but like, just set up this fight. Because it needs to happen. We need this rematch. Dan Henderson needs a chance to be a champion. Everything about this is America's fuck, and we need
Right off into the sunset or whatever bullshit storyline you want to make up.
Like,
yeah.
It's just so fucking...
I get it.
Like, and I completely agree. Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
In the same way that on this podcast we talked about how we wanted Bisping to win just because it would be dope as fuck for him to be champ. I want Henderson to win because it'd be dope as fuck for him to be champ.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I mean, it'd just be
Because
dope.
just like they said on Co-Made, if Henderson does win, it's just like a huge tournament now between Bisping, Jacare, Weidman, and Rockhold.
And
Yoel, Romero, yeah, and when he
there's
comes
a bunch
back,
of
yeah.
dudes, too, that are in
Gegard,
contention.
right?
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, Weidman, Gegard, who else? I don't know about Vitor. We'll see what he has to do.
Well, Vitor is fighting Musashi, two other contenders
that's right.
on that same card.
Holy shit, that's right. Wow. Okay.
So that's gonna be a huge card for the middleweight division, and that's supposed to happen in October, which is pretty soon, actually.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. Man, we strayed. How do we get there?
Co-main event. Okay,
Co-main
I'm
event.
done with that. Maybe we could both chime in on lineup, right?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Basically, I remember I mentioned briefly lineup when I was listening to it. Talked about, can Holly Holm ever get back to form? How's Gilbert Melendez going to do now that he's 1-4 in the UFC? Is he a bust in the UFC? Who's the biggest bust ever in the UFC? And they said Crow Cop was, technically. Or that was someone, I can't remember who said it.
I think it was Ben. Ben or Joe. It might have been Joe. And it was, that show. They love talking shit. It's just their favorite thing of all time. And they're just all so saucy, like, because they've all gotten fired from major organizations. Like, Sean Wheelock, the host, has gotten fired from Bellator. Ben Askren has been notoriously shit on and denied from the UFC. And Joe Warren has barely even gotten looks from the UFC, despite mollywopping people for decades and murdering dudes in Pride, or Dream, I guess it was. So they all have a weird history where they've been denied, so they're all real salty and hilarious, which is one of my favorite parts about that show. And they went in on a lot of people. They went in on the Mark Hunt stuff some more. They went in on all of.
Didn't they say like never have they more wanted to see someone yell as much as like Mark Hunt did or something like that because he deserves to yell as much as he wants?
Absolutely,
and be as angry as he was.
Yeah, they said they loved that shit because it's exactly how it should be going. And they also discussed like.
I know the main point of the show was weight cutting with what's his name?
That's right. They did have the cutting weight.
Dustin Zahersky from his company, Cutting Weight with the K,
which is basically just a solid
methods of cutting weight.
No, it's
right?
not. It's not even.
Well, it wasn't methods.
It's a trash bag like you would for.
Yeah, it's weight. That we've all seen on the Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, exactly. Or whatever it is. Yeah, because I never wrestled in high school. Almost did. Probably should have, considering how short I was in my weight at the time. I kind of regret it now I think about it, but I chose hockey instead. Go figure. In fucking Southern California.
I was going to say, Southern California, you really chose well.
Yeah.
The goals are doing great.
So it was, hey, I mean, if someone says Southern California, I guess they just say shouts out to the Kings and the Ducks. But whatever, dude. The goals aren't terrible. You know, I'm a San Diego biased guy. Whatever. They made the playoffs.
Yeah, the goals aren't terrible. Like the Padres and the Chargers aren't terrible.
Hey, bro, Padres are rebuilding. 2019, let's go.
We've been rebuilding since Tony Gwynn died. Is he still alive?
No.
Okay.
No. Shouts out to fuck chewing tobacco because that'll give you mouth cancer.
Oh,
like
that's
crazy.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
At least he didn't Junior Seau himself. All right, now that we covered all the San Diego sports, where were we at? Chris is shaking his head in shame. I don't care about actual fucking sports. If they don't hit each other in the face,
you're gonna alienate the native San Diegans.
That's fine. If they don't hit each other in the face during the game, I'm not interested. Hockey I can kind of fucks with because they'll hit each other every once in a while. But I don't see enough knuckle pucks, so I'm out.
You're lucky I have a twisted sense of humor because I did kind of struggle with the whole Junior Seau. I'm a piece of shit. So
I mean,
as much as I love
a good joke, right?
Yeah, as much as I love Junior Seau, but what? Yeah, I mean,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's a sad tragedy.
Right.
Anyways,
way to turn it dark, Chris.
Yeah, we need to get out of this.
All right, so we're talking about lineup MMA. So I'll go ahead and just jump to the next podcast I listened to. Chael Sonnen had 2 podcasts that he put out in the last week. He put out one on Saturday, which is really interesting, which was, I believe it was something along the lines of, I'm free bitches. That's not right, but it's something like that. Basically, on Saturday, his USADA suspension was up. So he put out a podcast being like, I'm a free man.
He's attempting a comeback, possibly, right?
Well, so the deal is, and this ties perfectly into the Chael Sonnen You're Welcome podcast, the Ariel Helwani they did this week as well. They talked about the same stuff. Essentially, Chael's not announcing a comeback until he can prove he's passing the USADA test.
That's what it was.
Because he has to pass 4 months of USADA before he can come back.
Oh, okay.
And he can't, so he talked about this a ton on his podcast. With himself and with Ariel, and essentially there's no way to take a USADA test without using USADA. So like he can't tell whether he's clean or not officially without applying to be clean. So he basically, like, he should be clean, but like there's weird metabolites that can stay in your liver and kidneys and stuff for some crazy stuff he was taking. So he like essentially he had to. Like, he said, I believe it was in the Ariel interview, he said he called up USADA and was like, hey, how do I get tested to find out if I'm clean so that I can start getting tested again? And they're like, what? He's like, well, I don't, like, I know I was dirty before and I want to make sure I'm clean so that way I can start applying for my license again and getting tested. They're like, well, that's not a thing. You just have to start getting tested.
I was going to say, you just have to take a test.
Right. And he's like,
initially, right?
Okay. So he hangs up, and then I guess like a couple days later, he sort of showed up at his door and fucking started testing him again. Oh, shit. So that's all those stories you started seeing online about how, Chael's back on the testing list and getting tested.
Fuck, that reminded me too. I don't know if I forgot. I guess I did forget. To listen to MMA Hour. I know I was used to listen to that.
I actually did listen to it.
Yes, so I'm always good about that. He's usually my go. Ariel is my go-to. The first one I listen to because it's the beginning of the week on a Monday.
You know what? Chael was on that as well. And that
yeah, I remember. I know he was a guest. Fuck, someone else was a guest too.
Here, I'll pull up the Ariel one because I got it right here. Because I just listened to that this morning. If I can find it. It's going to take me a second, so you should keep talking about whatever we're talking about.
Yeah, so basically the deal with Chael Sonnen, like you're saying, he's already on the testing list now. You said he has to test for 4 months before he can be eligible to start fighting again or training again, right?
No, he can train. He just can't. So he has to be clean for 4 months to be able to accept the fight.
Clean, okay.
So it's like, it's basic USADA rules where you have to pass 4 months worth of testing. It's the whole Brock exemption thing. This Brock somehow got an exemption, even though he didn't have to take that 4 months worth of testing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So on the
because he was on his old contract. That's why.
Yeah. So
yeah. Oh yeah. That's right.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So that actually leads us in perfectly. Now that I got the MMA Hour up, I listened to this week's MMA Hour. It was a fucking fantastic one. Some of the highlights of it: Juliana Pena was on fire like always. Juliana Pena is never not just money in every interview. She's fucking great. She was also on... Fuck, what other podcast was she on this week? I think I have her on the playlist. Nope, you know what? She was on Chael Sonnen's podcast last week. And she murdered it on that, like always. Chael just kept saying, I don't see how you don't give you the next title shot. Which I agree with, but it's not going to be her. It's going to be a rematch with Valentina Shevchenko. Yeah,
this is pretty inevitable.
Yeah, which I like either way.
Oh, yeah, because we get to see the 5 rounds, but
Juliana Pena probably deserves it more, and she's made a real good argument.
Because that means I think Pena should just hold out then. Fuck taking another fight.
No, she'll take another fight. Juliana Pena doesn't give any fucks. She's a bad bitch. Also, Mackenzie Dern, who just recently had her debut, I believe in RFA. She's a high level black belt in jiu-jitsu. Just won the world's, I think, the last 2 years in a row. The only person she's really lost to recently is Gabby Garcia, who's like fucking 1 billion pounds heavier than her. She just won in RFA.
Is that the chick who's like fucking 6'3" or something obnoxiously big?
Gabby Garcia, yeah.
Jesus Christ, yeah, that's right.
That was in the absolutes division, where it was like, and Mackenzie Dern is.
Is that like open weight or free weight?
Yeah,
whatever?
and Mackenzie Dern's like a 135er, I think. Yeah.
So what? She probably had like less than 40 pounds or. Fuck.
No, it was like 100 pounds almost.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So Khabib was on, being just classic Khabib. Just Khabibing it up. Being like, Tony Ferguson
Tony Ferguson.
Tony talks so much, but Tony can't fight. He get lit up by a first timer.
Yeah, exactly.
I deserve title shot.
Yeah, because that's the thing fucking Tony said to him. So.
Yeah. Which man, fuck it. Like, fuck, give him a title shot. Fuck, give everybody a title shot. I don't give any fucks.
I mean, if it's...
Whatever gets Khabib fighting, I'm in too.
I mean, if it's me, what I think will happen with that... I think they're going to give Barboza a shot against Alvarez, and then they're going to have Khabib fight Tony, so those two sons of bitches can get their shit out of the way. So who's like truly the undisputed... Well, actually, you know what? No, why the fuck would they put Barboza ahead of those two guys?
That's what I'm saying. I think Barboza's behind both of them.
Yeah.
I think you give Tony to Barboza.
Oh,
wait, no,
dude,
Tony and Barboza already fought.
No, dude, give Barboza to Chiesa, because Chiesa will be done recovering. Yeah, you gotta do that. Because Chiesa will be back. That's a good matchup, too. Grappler versus a leg kicker guy. A striker.
A leg kicker guy.
Leg kicker guy. A striker. Leg striker.
How are those drinks going, Chris?
I need another one.
There's a Takati right there.
Oh, there we go. It's waiting for me. It's been sweating.
That's right. It's real warm. Michelle Waterson was also on, being just her adorable Michelle Waterson self. And let's see. Michael Page was on briefly. Michael Page talked about the Pokemon stuff. And how it clearly wasn't a diss. Like, he wasn't trying to roll a Pokeball inside of someone's head or anything, like we joked about on last week's podcast.
Yeah, dude. See, now I don't remember. I did listen to a podcast, I don't know if it was this week or last week. It might have been last week, where they talk about, clearly wasn't a diss. It was just in the moment. He did it because... Not because
it's Ariel's show.
Yeah,
Ariel talks
I
about
did hear that,
That's just what Michael Page does.
Yeah.
Like, he's just super flashy. We talked about that last week as well.
It's a phenomenon right now, obviously, and he wanted to show off.
Well, and he's just that dude where he does flashy shit after knockouts. Like, he always dances or does, like, weird bits and stuff, and that was clearly premeditated.
Hey, everyone enjoys a showman anyway. It's kind of cool.
Well, and Michael Page said in the interview with Ariel, hey, it had nothing to do with the injury, it was just to do with the win. And I had that plan way ahead of time if I got the win. So, I don't... Like we said last week, I don't have any problem with it. But Michael Page made a great point. Michael Page did say something interesting, which is that he thinks he's either ready for a title shot or one fight away from a title shot. And I will agree with him. I don't agree with that shit.
You don't agree that he deserves a title shot?
No.
Or you don't agree that
I don't agree that he's... I don't even agree that he's one fight away from a title shot. Knocking out Chris Santos as your first big-name person... when you are way younger and way more explosive than that dude. Like, there's a bunch of guys...
He fight, like, Benson Henderson, like an actual...
There's a billion people in that division he should fight before then. That would be great fights, but... I get the Bellator desperate for stars, and that dude will be flashy as fuck, and he probably could make a run at some of the people in that division, but man, I don't know if I agree with just tossing him into a title shot. I'd like to see him trying to earn his way up.
Who's the 170? Koreshkov?
That's 170, but they're 150s.
Wait, Michael. No, dude.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Venom Page is... Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking he was 155 too because he's so damn skinny.
Threw me off.
Yeah, or that too.
Because I knew Benson was talking about fighting him.
So that's let me go off there. Is Benson a bona fide welterweight now officially, or can he just flip flop? I imagine he could just flip flop, right?
Yeah, no, I think Benson is going back to 55 from what I've heard.
Yes, wasn't Koreshkov just way too big for him?
I mean, yeah. Have you seen that fight?
Because Benson's, 5'9", he's tiny.
Yeah, he just got mollywopped that whole thing. We've been going long. Let's go ahead and, we'll just go ahead and keep cranking on, because before I start looking at Bellator rankings and shit like that's relevant to anything.
So what do you want to get to now? Do you want to finish off what you were discussing with the MMA Hour? Do you want to just get... or do you
that's mostly what I wanted to cover on MMA Hour. Oh god, why is this making noise? Alright. The only other ones I wanted to cover briefly. Yeah, actually the only other one I wanted... Oh, no, there's two things. The MMA Beat was great. Episode 177. No Ariel on this show. It was Luke Thomas.
That's the SB Nation when they have all their collaborators on there, right?
Yep, it was Luke Thomas and a bunch of people. I don't have the.
I should say MMA fighting, but SB Nation same.
Yeah,
thing.
they talked. They just talked about the state of the division. Talked about Robbie. Talked about upcoming stuff. I honestly. Didn't stand out to me for any other reason other than they just have interesting discussions on that show. They did talk a lot about the Mark Hunt comments. Oh, that was the last thing. Oh my god, we almost missed that. Last thing on the Ariel show, did you hear the Mark Hunt comments?
I saw them in quotes, but I kind of...
Okay.
I know they're pretty... Oh, I do remember one thing he did say is that he wants to be the face of a fighters union, though, or the leader of that. And someone was discussing, I think it might have been on Lineup, saying, I don't know if Mark Hunt has the leadership capabilities of that.
Right.
I don't think it was that podcast. It was some podcast in my head.
One, but it was
something
one
in my head was telling me that.
Listen to.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the main thing I took away from that, is I know Mark Hunt discussed something about that. I do agree, though. There should be a fighters association. For sure. Something like that. But what were you going to say?
Need some kind of representation. Actually, you know what? We will listen to the Mark Hunt rant, and we'll comment on that when we come back from the break, because I'm going to put that as the break clip between these two segments. Last thing I wanted to mention, Beatdown live from Invicta FC 18 that came out on July 28th. This is the podcast where TJ DeSantis goes through and talks to all of the competitors on the Invicta 18 card. TJ is the commentator for Invicta, and he sits down, since he has the chance to sit down with each fighter. So the way it works is most commentators before a fight card, they have a chance to sit down with every fighter and ask them questions just to learn about them and just take notes so they have them for the fight. And TJ records all of it and does a podcast, which is fucking dope, because you just get backstories of everyone. You get to hear, what camp they're training with, where they're coming from, what they improved on, what they think about their last fight, what they think about this fight, all that stuff. And it's just very fucking interesting. It's one of my favorite podcasts. No one seems to talk about it ever, so I absolutely recommend checking it out. This one, they talked about the Invicta card that we just watched and that we're actually going to lead into. On the next segment, we're going to break down our reactions on that card. Chris saw most of it with me, apart from a few fights. And first off, you haven't seen any all Invicta, all female
I haven't seen,
cards
I've seen Invicta fights. Haven't seen a card all at once like we kind of did, and I enjoyed it. It was cool the way it kind of transitioned because what was it? It was 115. There was a 125 fight, kind of catch weight-ish fight, and then there's a 145 fight, which we'll get into, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Especially, who was it? That one chick's face, Peggy.
Oh, poor Peggy Morgan.
Yeah, goddamn.
Oh, she got Brendan Schaub. She had that Brendan Schaub Arlovsky cheek. Yeah, we'll get into all that, but I love Invicta cards. They're one of my favorites. So that podcast is incredible. All these girls have crazy backstories, and they're all tough as fucking nails. Also, they're hilarious. You hear girls like Christine Stanley, Jasmine Duke, just a bunch of girls I'm homers for. Especially Christine Stanley at Alliance in San Diego.
Shout out.
So we will get into all of that, and also me and Chris will briefly touch on the Mark Hunt comments as we come back in. So check that on the break, and we'll be right back, bitches.
Mark, have you tried to reach out to the UFC yourself to get more clarity on this whole situation, how he failed the test before the fight and was still able to fight, all that stuff? Have you tried to talk to them?
I reached out today and I've asked what's going on, and they're not doing a damn thing. And the sad thing about it, like I said, is I'm upset because it's not just the first. This is the third time I've had this The next time I probably won't. That's why I won't be going to fight in the UFC again. If I go do a fight again and if I get put in a coma or die, what happens to me? Oh well, he already knew. He's already fought 3 cheaters in a row. It was the 4th time he cheated. And before the fight, I said, I said to the, I was assuming he was cheating. Look at him. There's no way that guy makes 265 pounds. The guy's a gimp. He's sticking needles in his ass like the rest of these cheaters. And the thing about that is, he's sitting here saying, "Oh, this is a fair place." Well, it's not fair. These guys are cheating, and they should be in court for it. Lose all their money instead for cheating. Because if I die in there, who's going to look after my family? So, look after the guys that are clean in the sport. I said, "Oh, well, who's going to look after the kids?" Well, here's your explanation. He signed the waiver. These guys are all clean. That's a crock of shit, man. These motherfuckers should be penalized hard. Dirty, scummy, cheating scum. That's how that monkey won his world title. That's why he came back and said, "I got an itch to scratch." You didn't do it by doing it clean. You did it by cheating. Just like the rest of you cheaters.
Alright, we are back. Holy shit, how depressing was that Mark Hunt clip on the Ariel Helwani MMA Fortnite as the
I mean, yeah, you gotta feel bad for him. You have to feel bad for him. I mean, I would too, man. That's bullshit.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's not right. Like you said, he's fought 3 cheaters now before, and what did he say? He almost would rather lose. Yeah, he said, "I would rather lose to a cheater because that means no one can associate me with cheating if I lose."
Yeah,
that's kind of how sad it is, to the point where you have to say something like that, and that's how serious cheating is in any sport, really. If you look at any sport with
well, and the difference is they're inflicting fucking head trauma on each other with the ability to throw extra damage. Like, there's no real. I've been hearing Luke Thomas recently argue a lot that you can't necessarily equate the ability to throw more punches with the fact that you can induce more brain damage on somebody. It's an unfair argument, and it's not substantiated, which is true. It's not. But also, as he has said many times, there has to be a level playing field in the fact that you have to start from where your base genetics are taking you. Like, your base genetics are never going to be equal, so there is no level playing field. Like, the idea of one is insane. Which I love that Luke Thomas, actually, he addressed this on his Monday Morning Analyst podcast. Like, the idea of a level playing field is fucking ludicrous, because John Jones and Daniel Cormier have very different bodies, and they're never going to be on a level playing field when it comes to just their size and abilities.
It could never be fair.
At birth, they were different, and at birth, Jones had a reach and a height advantage that is going to help him. But the idea that everyone starts on a basically, the big problem I find with PED use is if you allow PED use, then it's just a big doctor competition. It's who has the best doctor.
And in a way, to me, it's kind of like just the champion is the guy who takes the most roids. In a way, I feel like it. I mean, obviously, you still have to be good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it's whoever has the best doctor wins.
It's fucked up,
and
dude.
at that point, you're not really competing in sport. You're competing in science, and that's not really. I feel like it takes away from the idea of the whole competition to see which martial arts are the best. Like, at that point, you're saying which scientists are the best, basically.
Yeah, it's almost like, in a way, you can just take an average Joe who has some base skill in mixed martial arts or a martial art, but you pump him up with steroids, he can take more pain. It's dumb. It defeats the point.
Not even steroids, but shit like EPO, which is like cardio enhancers. Those are the real motherfuckers.
Fuck, yeah, I forgot about that.
Like, that's why Mighty Mouse is such a bad motherfucker, where he went 3 rounds and beat the piss out of Ali Bagotinov, who then pops for EPO, and he was still gassing against Mighty Mouse, clean as fuck. Only drinking water and eating
No wonder
food.
why Ali Bagotinov looked gassed against even, who was it? It wasn't Joe Soto, because he's a 130 fighter, right? I can't remember who Bogatino
Benavidez, I think, or something.
Oh
like
no, it was some Colombian dude, but I can't remember his name at the time.
I would have to look it up.
Either way, yeah, Bogatino would be like, oh, he looks tired, and it's like, well, he just kind of popped maybe a month or two ago, so he's probably trying to get used to being regular weight again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wow.
It's interesting. That whole Mark Hunt had some fucking fantastic points and some really dope clips. Like, he had some dope sound bites that are forever going to be, they're going to be plastered all over everything forever. Man, he went off in the best kind of way. In a Ben Askren, Joe Warren lineup MMA style attack that they do every week, but they just don't get play for because they're not in the UFC. But man, yeah, Mark Hunt was not happy, and I loved every part of it. All right, now that we got through that, let's go ahead and jump into Invicta 18. So you've never seen an Invicta card before, correct?
Not all the way through.
Right, like you've seen like individual fights,
yeah,
right?
All I've ever seen is individual fights at a time. That's it.
So you didn't see this one all the way through, although we did see basically the main
let me
handful.
see.
So like the last 3 or 4.
3. I didn't see 3 fights out of the 7.
Yeah.
So I saw 4 out of 7 fights.
Right, and then we went back.
No,
and
4.
watched
No, I saw 5 out of 8. Duh.
Yeah. Yeah. So we will skip the early ones. Some early mentions that I will shout out is Amberlyn Off or Off or
No, or.
Wow,
yeah.
I'm pronouncing that very wrong.
No,
Amberlyn Orr and Sajara Eubanks. I thought, from everything I heard on the forums, specifically the MMA community, rather than the underground, Amberlyn Orr has a lot of hype. She has like fucking a crazy amount of amateur fights. Some like, I want to say she has like 15 or 20 amateur fights, but only like 3 professional fights. She got a loss. She got basically just mounted and elbowed to death by Sarah Eubanks. A lot of side mount with the crucifix, and then eventually just pounded the fuck out. And also I should say I did post my unofficial picks for Invicta 18 on our website. If you go to thesoundofviolence.com and click the articles tab, or go to thesoundofviolence.com/articles, which I need to rename on the redirect, it will bring you directly to my post. I basically just ahead of time in the card, since we didn't have a chance to post this ahead of time, wanted to post all my picks. I went 50-50 on the card, which is, it's about how I do on most cards. Not terrible, but not great either. I did have, however, in this one, Amberlyn Orr, just off all the hype. I figured she'd get the sub early, but she got bombed on from the ground by Sarah Eubanks, or Sajara Eubanks, rather. So we will jump right into the next one. So Aspen Ladd and Jessica Hoy, you and me watch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a great fight.
It was fucking... So this is like a classic, I would call a classic Invicta fight, where they're super well matched, even though not a lot of people... They're like Jessica Hoy's first fight in Invicta, Aspen Ladd's third professional fight.
I was going to say, by the way, how many jabs, dude? Holy shit. Like,
yeah.
Just jab.
Dude, the first round specifically...
Yeah, it was so technical, though. I liked
someone
it.
Said that... I think someone even tweeted, and they showed on the
there's
screen.
most jabs in this first 2 rounds. The whole card. Yeah. Exactly, and I liked it, especially from Aspen Ladd, man. She kept connecting. I mean, she's fighting orthodox, but she kept leading with that left hook, man. That was crazy.
She's doing real good at just throwing a sweeping hook over and over again and just catching her on the end of it. It wasn't landing real heavy early, but she started picking it up and just put the heat on. Jessica Hoy looked real good in the first round, from what I remember. Just basically a lot of cage control and a lot of just pummeling for either just deep whizzers on her on Aspen Ladd's underhooks, or just a lot of basically back and forth on the cage. Aspen Ladd in the second came out and started light her up on fire, and I was able to get the stoppage. I believe, what's the column of the website? I had Aspen Ladd, TKO round 2, punches and elbows. Fucking best pick of the card. Nailed that one.
Yep.
But to be fair, if you look at Aspen Ladd's record, her last couple fights are TKO punches and elbows. I don't know if you noticed this. So, I mean, in the first round, she had already had one in Invicta in the first round, and I just figured with a girl on her first professional fight, she would probably have a tough time. So, Aspen Ladd got that win. Tessa Simpson versus Simona Sukopova.
Sukopova?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to butcher that. Chris did not see this one. I did. It was very close. Julie Kedzie and TJ DeSantis were arguing that it could have been a draw just because it could have been a 10-8 for Sukopova in the last round. I almost leaned that way, but I did bet on Sukopova, so I'm probably biased. However, it was just a scrappy fight. Everybody landed everything. Not a ton of defense necessarily from either one of them, but just a scrappy fight for, I think they're 105ers, if I remember right. Let me check. Yeah.
What the hell is that weight class? Oh, what is that? Atom weight?
Yeah, 105ers atom weight.
Jesus, I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
I usually I'm like, the only thing lighter than flyweight or straw weight in MMA terms is when I used to actually watch boxing way back when I cared about boxing. They'd be like super flyweight or like ultra whatever the fuck, or I can't remember what they called it.
The atom weight's like Michelle the Karate Hottie used to be at atom weight before she moved up.
By the way, that just reminds me, I don't see how in the hell Manny Pacquiao ever won a title at 107 and then can win a title at 142.
He was like 16 when he won a title at 107.
Okay, see, that makes sense. See,
no
one told me that.
He looked like a fucking child. When he
there we go.
Early ones.
He is like 5'6".
He was tiny. He was like a different.
Oh yeah, no, but that means
he had his little bowl cut.
Yeah, he was probably like 5'1", then 5'2". Okay.
Oh, if that, yeah. He was tiny.
Never mind. I recant that, but that makes a lot of sense though. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Goddamn 107.
Yeah, he was hilarious. If you go back and watch old Manny fights, he's hilarious because he just has.
Dude, I bet his hand speed was even more insane. At least at that weight.
Ridiculous. Because he just has his bowl cut and he just fucking folds up in the face the whole time. He just keeps wrapping him to the body and going to the head and just fucking little dudes up. He actually had some tough fights though when he was younger. He had a couple losses early, but he was able to rally, which is rare for boxers. Alright, so up next we got Megan Anderson versus Peggy Morgan.
I love this fight. As one-sided as it was fun to watch.
Oh, poor Peggy Morgan. Man, Megan Anderson is a contender at 135.
Fucking 6 foot tall.
Dude, I don't want to see her fight Cyborg on her next fight, but I want her to have a fight in between. But man, she's
got that gnarly right hand, dude.
She just throws heat and she is real scrappy. The problem is she does not like. I can't tell if it's because of the competition she's been facing that she hasn't felt threatened, but she doesn't block punches like at all, which is bad against Cyborg.
I kind of think I noticed. I mean, as much as Peggy was trying to do and the clinch trying to avoid those outside and inside strikes,
yeah,
I could tell. I think Anderson was blocking with her face more than she should have.
Well, but there was a couple things to note though. Peggy Morgan was fighting out of Team Sityo in this camp, which is new for her, and she did look way better than she normally does. She had a way better performance than I normally like, even though she did get finished in the second, but she was tough as fuck and did put on a really great performance in that fight. I mean, just out of straight just toughness mostly, but she did show some improvements in her boxing early on. She did start getting touched up later, but
especially that left side of her face, man, when it started swelling up.
Well, that's the thing is she got Brennan Schaub versus Arlovsky at a certain point where he just like puffs.
Looks like she just had like a softball inside of her head.
I think it's one of those things where he just punctures an air pocket and then just swells up with air. Because that's what Schaub was saying, was he would press on it and he would just make like a weird farting noise. Because it would just be air escaping from like his fucking cheek. It looked something similar to that, where basically it just made a giant.
Yeah, because the only time I've seen a fighter had that was the Dominic Cruz Mighty Mouse fight, when Mighty Mouse, when he got kneed by Cruz in the face, he had that air pocket on his cheek too, on the left side of his face as well. And I was thinking, how the hell did your
as bad?
Yeah, no, not nearly as bad. But I was like thinking, how does your cheek swell up since it already has so much, kind of space like that?
Yeah, the Peggy Morgan one and the and the one I just mentioned,
Brendan Schaub
are probably the worst examples I've seen of it. Which sucks, because it's mostly kind of just a visual thing. But, man, yeah, Megan Anderson put the beating down. Peggy Morgan finished really strong with punches. I believe on the picks, let's go to it. I have Megan Anderson TKO round 3 with punches. It was round 1 KO with punches. Oh, man. That is going to be our split screen. Chris is showing
This is on Reddit, too, so I was just...
Chris is showing me the Reddit image. Send that. Text that to me. Chris is showing me the Reddit image for Peggy Morgan's face after this fight, and that's going to be the split image with the fucking blood stain of the 105ers, which was ridiculous. Or no, that wasn't the 105ers. That was actually our next fight.
These were the 145ers, man. The featherweights.
Or no, you know what it was? It was the Inoue fight that had that crazy blood stain.
Oh, the blood stain. Yeah.
So yeah, Megan Anderson just looking fucking beast, and I don't want to see her fight Cyborg next, but I want to see her keep progressing. Cindy Danois, Jessamine Duke, this one bummed me out, man.
This was one where I've never seen an armbar like, is it Danois? Like how she did it. That was weird, man. I never seen something like that.
Yeah, they're calling
with the way she kind of controlled it with the, I don't want to say beneath her knee, but basically with your leg, inside leg.
They're calling it a scarf hold armbar, or arm lock rather, on Sherdog. Which kind of makes sense.
Dude, the way she
basically it's like if you have a bulldog choke, but from side control, and then you hit the arm bar with your leg bending it over your left knee.
Dude, because I feel like
left arm.
This is the amount of force you could exert with your fucking leg anyway. Jesus, dude.
It was weird. Jessamine Duke looked good early. Like, she defended some takedowns. I didn't necessarily know whether she'd be able to. She could get taken down, but she was able to almost immediately retain guard. She didn't get pieced up on the feet, but man, yeah, as soon as Cindy Danois was able to get the head and arm throw and then get to side control, it was just that nasty arm bar. If you want to go watch some sad shit, go hang out in the White Mage 01 Twitch chat where we're all hanging out being real sad. Everybody go subscribe to Jessamine Duke on Twitch. She's awesome. And hilarious on there with Shayna Baszler, and absolutely you should go subscribe to that because it's dope. That's her 5th loss in a row, which is tough. But yeah, I would say go check them out because even if she never fights again, she's hilarious and absolutely. Sorry about that buzzing. She is hilarious and absolutely you should go check her out on Twitch because her and Shayna Baszler and Josh Barnett do some of the funniest Twitch streams ever. So, check that shit out. But yeah, Cindy Danois just performing like as always. I was surprised. Mizuki Inoue versus Lynn Alvarez.
This is the only other fight I wasn't able to catch.
So, Mizuki Inoue basically just Mizuki Inoue'd that shit. It looked a little back and forth in the first, but by the second, it was just all control, and eventually snatched the arm bar.
Did she take her down and just transition into an armbar, or did she rock her and like she fell into the tree? Because I didn't watch the fight, so.
I mean, you were sitting here with me while we watched it.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't remember this fight at all.
I know. I was being like, oh shit, she's got this arm bar, and you're like, oh yeah? Alright, anyway,
okay, then
let's talk about Gary Busey or whatever, someone. It's not true. I don't know why I went with Gary Busey. But yeah, so she did snatch the armbar. We will go back and watch this one of these days. Mizuki Inoue is someone to look out for. She's tough as nails, and it always comes to fucking...
Oh no, dude, I remember now. I'm dumb. I remember this is the first fight we watched. That's why.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I remember that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one you showed up halfway through, I think.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, that makes more sense.
You paused it. Okay.
Right. Alright, so the co-main event up next was Aga.
They call Aga something like that.
Aga,
right?
I think. Is what her nickname is, because I'm not even going to fucking butcher her name. Versus Chris Stanley. Chris Stanley out of Alliance MMA. Woo woo.
Shouts out.
She's also roommates with Angie Hill, / Angela Hill, of Twitch fame, as well as previous Ultimate Fighter contender.
And current Invicta champion.
Strawweight champ.
Yeah.
So Angela Hill was in the corner along with Angela Hill's husband. They are roommates with Chris Stanley, actually. If you've ever gone to Angie Overkill on Twitch, you would see Chris Stanley being, I'm not going to say real high, but not real high, on stream playing Call of Duty with Angela Hill, fucking just panicking. It's some of the funniest shit ever. It's just great. They're hilarious. They also played Broforce at one point, and that was a mess. Chris Stanley just panics and screams
That's
a lot.
a great co-op game.
It's hilarious. Chris just panics and screams a lot, basically, in a lot of these games. She's like, I don't know what the fuck. Okay, we're good. Like, all right, Chris, great. But yeah, the Chris hype is real. She took this fight on a week's notice, and man, she went the distance, not looking terrible. Like, if
Technically,
you were to,
was this a... Because the guy, who is it, Rick Martinez, he's like, oh, this is a flyweight bout.
who the fuck is Rick?
Sorry, the announcer.
Joey Martinez.
Is it Rick or Joe Martinez? I'm dumb.
Joe Martinez.
Sorry, I'm dumb.
Joe Martinez.
Anyways, he said it was... I don't know if it was supposed to be a flyweight bout, but I noticed that Aga, because the Polish chick, she weighed in at 125.5, and Chris Stanley weighed in at 128.5. Because, of course, she's on a week's
Other
notice.
way. Really?
Yeah.
That's the way it went?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was
from
supposed
what
to be flyweight, kind of.
Yeah, so Chris took this fight super, super last minute. And yeah, that's what I heard is basically it just turned into like a weird, I don't know, it's always kind of sketchy with WMMA cards with weight classes. They're starting to get much better. But in the early days, like if you look at old Gina Carano fights, it'd literally be like, oh, Gina decided to come in at 148, so that's what we're going to just make the weight class tonight. But Chris, I should say, Knuckles, took the fight on 1 week's notice. She said she's been doing 2 days. I forget which podcast she was on. Oh, the Invicta podcast, which we talked about, right?
Yeah.
The Invicta podcast TJ DeSantis did with Julie Kedzie. Chris Knuckles was on. And she was talking about, oh yeah, I've been doing 2 days for like a month, which explains why she was able to hang for 3 full rounds. But man, this was just a tough fight for her on a week's notice. I feel like if you would have given her a full training camp, she might have taken that.
Yeah, no, especially that first round. She didn't win the first round, but she looked the best in the first round. I felt like just coming out, just with her aggression
She's landing
and
some
control,
big shots. Like she wasn't
trying to put Aga against the cage.
right. She looked like she was like a little panicky, trying to like make something happen early because she knew she didn't have a lot of gas.
Yeah, she was definitely swinging hard though, throwing some heat.
Yeah,
especially because I kind of figured that's what I mean. For anyone on a week's notice, you kind of have to do that.
I mean, you have to. And especially Chris Stanley, I mean, she just fucking throws heat anyway. She did have that Alliance footwork going, though, like a motherfucker.
Yeah, you definitely recognize those switches in her stance and everything.
And she had Angie Hill in the background in her corner. Also, shouts out to, like we said earlier, Twitch/Angie Overkill. We're throw a shout out in there for the Chris hype. In the chat, if you ever follow any fighters on Twitch, make sure to shout out them in their Twitch chat while they're fighting. So why the fuck would you not do it? It's some cool shit to do. But yeah, it was a tough fight for Chris. She put on a great performance. Even Julie Kedzie was saying like, holy shit, on a week's notice, that's fucking super dope. And she didn't look ultra gassed by the end of that fight. Like she was clearly tired, but she was still throwing heat that entire time. Alright. And then lastly, Alexa Grasso, Jody Escobar. I did not think this was going to go to decision. Actually, wait, no, that's a lie. I literally picked this to go to decision. Why would I say that? Oh, I did have Christine Stanley, by the way, by TKO round 1, which is not the case. Could have went to decision. I did have, however,
Escobar was the chick who hadn't fought in 2 years, right? She was the major underdog.
Who's that?
Escobar. She hadn't fought in 2 years. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Although Alexa Grasso's been out for at least a year, also.
Oh, okay.
But I did have Alexa Grasso by decision on the website. 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. Pretty close. Didn't quite get that exact decision, but. Man, it was a scrappy fucking fight. I did not know that there were some moments in that fight where I thought it could go either way. But Alexa Grasso really just seems like she was able to, even going backwards most of the fight, she was able to just pick her apart.
It's because she was standing up straight. That's what's kind of interesting about it. She wasn't really leaning at all into her punches. She
kind of
just
Stipe Miocic.
Yeah, she was just using her raw power. She was using really efficient. Yeah, she was using really efficient jabs. Once she busted up Escobar's nose, man, and she just started leaking. That's when it kind of just stalled. That was all she wrote right there, man. She just kept, those jabs were just so insane. Just deadly work right there from the inside and the outside. Mostly inside punching, but still, man, I was really impressed with Grasso's work. Jody came back at the end. I felt like a little bit, kind of, but still,
yeah.
She was just taking too much punishment either way.
Yeah, she tried to, but she was just getting leaked. Like, she was leaking everywhere at a certain point. It was just ridiculous. Also, Grasso, I forgot what I was going to mention. I came here like I was going to mention something specific about her. I can't remember what the fuck it was. I'm cutting all of this out until I can remember. The fuck did I come here to mention? Oh, right. Also, Grasso's in the 115 division, which means that, like, I could easily see her coming up. I could easily see her taking some of the lower end of that 115 division. Off performance like that, like, you can't tell me she isn't ready for, like, maybe not the Felice Herrigs, but who'd Felice just beat?
Oh, shit.
Last weekend?
Are you talking about transition to the UFC?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I absolutely think Alexa Grasso is ready for that step up in competition.
So she should just forget about a title shot against Angela Hill and Invicta and just go to UFC instead?
No, but if she was smart, she would try to do that because she's not getting through Angela Hill.
I don't blame her. I mean, so yeah.
Like, would I love to see a fight between Alexa Grasso and Angela Hill? Absolutely. Would I, as Alexa Grasso's manager, suggest she tries to fight Angela Hill for the title instead of trying to get a UFC contract? Absolutely not.
No, because it's the UFC, man.
Although Alexa Grasso does have beast grappling and she is real tough on the ground, but if Angela Hill was able to shut down Souza like she did, that fight was so fucking impressive.
Yeah.
Do you ever see that fight? The fight that she had against, I want to say Olivia Hanato Souza, but I think that's the wrong name.
No, I think the only Angela Hill fight was the one you just showed me.
Oh, that's right.
The one where she beat that chick in like fucking a
minute.
minute.
Her first Invicta fight where she just lit that girl on fire with knees and punches.
That was impressive.
We'll have to watch the Olivia Hanato Souza, I believe that's her name, fight. Man, Angela Hill, that's a fucking scrappy performance because Angela Hill had a couple losses in the UFC after the Ultimate Fighter by sub to like Rose and stuff like that, and they were tough losses. But she's come back really strong out of Alliance and is looking on fire lately. All right, I think that covers most of that Invicta card. Was there anything else that happened this week that you can think of? Oh wait, we do have a notepad here. Let's jump to this before we go to the fights. First thing on the notepad. Oh, you and me decided that Dominic Cruz needs a podcast.
Eventually, yeah, we'll just say eventually.
I've tweeted this multiple times that Dominic Cruz needs a podcast. And I've heard in multiple interviews him say, I don't want to do a podcast until after I retire because I'm too busy. But holy shit, does the world need a Dominic Cruz and Eric Del Fiero podcast, what we decided.
That'd be fantastic, yeah. The guy's so insightful, very intelligent with what he...
And you never hear Eric Del Fiero anywhere.
Yeah, no, you just don't. And I would love
he's like the Matt Hume of San Diego.
Pretty much. And I'd love to get inside the mind of Dominic Cruz and what he thinks, just about... MMA, just, not even just UFC, anything in general. You already know the guy can talk about pretty much any weight class he wants, anything, regarding,
he studies so much of the game. It's insane.
If anyone studies tape as much as anyone, it's probably that guy for sure. Obviously, anything. Just technique, breakdowns.
I guarantee Dominic Cruz loves Fight Pass. I bet you that dude could do a Sage Northcutt style promo for Fight Pass.
Yeah, I think even when he beat Uriah just like, a month and a half ago, I think he even said, like... he doesn't underestimate anyone. He watched, of course, tape of recent Uriah Faber because duh, it's a fucking fight, dude. It doesn't matter how bad or good your opponent looks in the past fight or two. It's like, come on, dude. Why do you think training camp? What do you think training camps are for? It's all about preparation for the now. So yeah, that'd be awesome if he could do that in the future. So we'll see. Because what is he like? He's 31 now. He's healthy now. That's the good news. So we'll see how he does. I feel like he's going to be fighting for at least a couple more years if everything goes well for him. So, of course, I'd love to see him fight for a couple more years. Shit, at least be a champion for a couple more years. It'll be fun.
I just want another DJ Cruz fight.
See, this is the thing, too. Just to piggyback on that, we definitely, me and you include, want to see a Dominic Cruz super fight. What he's mentioned before, he mentioned this on a previous podcast, he wants to fight Jose Aldo and or Conor McGregor because the guy deserves to be paid. I
think he'd fuck up Conor McGregor too.
Yeah, I think he could take him to the ground, keep him on the ground, a la like the Chad Mendes interim fight for 189.
Yep.
Except McGregor arguably wouldn't be able to hit him. Yeah. Arguably, we don't know because remember, Cruz.
I don't know. Cruz does get caught sometimes, but he's gotten better recently.
Yeah, he has a pretty underrated chin.
Conor throws so hard that like.
Yeah. See, so we'll see. I in a way, it almost feels like the Cruz versus Aldo fight would actually be even more interesting. But then people would argue, oh, wait, but Aldo's kicks. He would chop him down. So who knows? Either way, we want to see a Cruz super fight in the future.
Any Cruz super fight would be dope. Absolutely. All right, so now that we have meandered all over the motherfucking place, we started off breaking down Invicta, and now we're here. So let's go ahead and we're going to wrap this and jump directly into the breakdown of one fight on WSOF. Because, god damn it, we have to do it. It's so dumb. I'm not a fan. And then we're going to break down UFC 201, which I am hyped about. So, we are going to be right back, and we'll jump right into that shit, bitches.
That's how we ended up with the 13. And I'm 11 of the 13. I got 2 younger sisters. A lot of butt whoopings that just happened in the house. 10 older siblings, you don't win all those fights.
Right. Who is the one that you had the most run-ins with? Did you have one older brother that would always test you?
Oh, my God, that's easy. Well, my sister was the complete damn Terminator of the house. She's 3 or 4 years older than me. She's 4 years older than me, and she whooped everybody's ass. Everybody. She was like the neighborhood bully, so everybody knew of her. When I finally got my one time, I got a couple of licks off. I ran and I told all my friends. I was so excited because she would like not just beat you up, but like embarrassingly beat you up. Like beat you with like a box of fish sticks or something like that. Like that literally happened.
You got beaten with a box of fish sticks.
Yeah, man. And she's like, "What are you gonna do? You have an asthma attack?" Because I used to be faking asthma to get her to stop, but that's funny that I ended up the fighter. My sisters, man, they all the fighters.
All right, we are back. This last segment is brought to you by Chris's Sakati. How's that going?
I'm just finishing it pretty much. Just had to make it cold because when I started on about an hour ago, it was warm as hell.
Well, I am currently pouring here. I'll pour it right next to the mic so you can hear it. A Boddington, which is some fucking delicious English creaminess. Pause. I feel like I should have thrown a beep in there somewhere. There's some super gay sounding way to describe that. It's a cream ale. Well, that's not better. It's English ale. Anyway, off of the weird gay beer slurs.
It's an English ale.
That's correct. We are going to jump right into. So here's a question for you: have you ever seen a WSOF card?
Yeah, well, not a full card. I've seen like one fight.
Which one?
Wait, I think it was that dude who thinks he's a superhero from Seattle fight his brother or her adopted brother.
That's perfect, because that's the fight we're talking about tonight. So that was the one you saw.
Okay, it was that guy fighting someone else, but this was on NBC when I was flipping channels.
Absolutely.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Yep, you nailed it, because it takes place on NBC.
Who is it, Phoenix Jones? Is that
yep,
his name?
Phoenix Jones is Ben Fodor.
Oh, there he is. Cool. Wow, what a fucking great coincidence.
So Ben Fodor is fighting his adopted brother, Karos Fodor. Karos Fodor what is his record?
He looks like a Carlos who forgot the L.
Oh shit, he's been fighting in ONE FC forever. I did not know. And he fought in the UFC? How do I not know this guy? He fought fucking Pat Healy.
Sam Stout?
He fought Sam Stout?
Wow.
How do I not know this dude?
Huh.
This is concerning for Ben.
Oh god, yeah, this motherfucker. I've seen this guy fight. I've seen him fight on the streets too, for justice.
A lot of those are him getting stabbed.
No, I know. I think this guy's been shot too.
Yeah. Oh, did he fight Cody McKenzie back in the day? That's hilarious.
Hey, credit to this guy trying to be like Kick-Ass.
That's how you know you fought in the Northwest, is if you fought Cody McKenzie. Man, I gotta go Carlos Fedor. Just off experience, and the fact that Matt Hume, I think, is the one backing him. Yep, AMC Pancration. That's a bad sign for you. If Matt Hume is picking your brother against you, that's a bad sign, Mr. Superhero. Carlos Fedor has a crazy record, and I just don't see this going well for Ben. I wish him well. He's a good guy, it seems like, but ugh. I don't like any part of this. I don't like the matchup. It's all gross. Fuck you, WSOF. That's about all I've said about that. Briefly, Lance Palmer is fighting Alexandre Almeida. Lance Palmer from Team Alpha Male. I have not seen enough Lance Palmer fights to really have enough of an educated opinion on this one. Because I don't follow WSOF enough. I need to catch up on all these cards.
I swear, this dude was a champion at one point, I think.
Really?
Maybe not.
Maybe did a 5-rounder there. It's possible.
I'm thinking of someone from Alpha Male that wasn't in the UFC that was a champion, but I don't know who that is.
That's probably possible. I'm not good at
it
this
doesn't
kind of
matter,
stuff when I'm drunk.
Yeah,
So.
it doesn't matter.
Anyway, main event. One thing I did want to touch on briefly. Marilyn
Oh, dude, I've seen this
drunk.
guy. I saw him in an Ultimate Fighter season, I believe, somewhere.
Possible. Marlon Moraes is a motherfucker. You sure you're not thinking of
No, never mind.
different Moraes?
No, there's been a bunch of Marlons.
Sergio Moraes?
No, there's been a bunch of
You're
Marlons.
thinking of the Ultimate Fighter Brazil, Sergio Moraes.
That's probably what it is.
I bet you. Marlon Moraes is been fighting in WSOF. He is a motherfucker. He's got death leg kicks, and he's just been brutalizing people. He is fighting Josh Hill. I don't know a ton about Josh Hill, other than he's from Canada. Yep. And he's from the House of Champions, which makes me go ahead and pick
Marlon Moraes.
So we are going to go with that one. I don't follow WSF close enough. I am going to watch that card. But I'm going to watch it in the background because they're idiots and they try to fucking counter program UFC 201 like a bunch of douchebags. Why would you do that, NBC? Do you hate ratings or do you just hate your own product? Why would you counter program a pay-per-view, much less a Robbie Lawler pay-per-view?
They're just like, fucking the people who can't afford the pay-per-view, they're just going to watch ours. Oh, not really.
That's the worst plan ever. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and jump into UFC 201.
Hell yeah.
Where are we watching this? Have we decided yet?
I don't know. I could try to convince my dad.
I wonder... I wonder if Bubba
Tap House
is doing it again.
Dude, do they show fights though? I know
They
some
did for
bars
200.
can't, though.
They did for 200.
But they do show fights.
Well, they did for 200.
I'm just curious because sometimes some bars can't show fights.
Well, they showed the UFC 200 card, so I'm wondering if maybe they're going to show 201. I might check their Instagram or something. So if you're in San Diego, maybe you go there and see if you can find us, which you shouldn't do, because we're boring. Alright, so first fight on the card. I don't know either of these guys, so this is going to be very brief. Cesar Menindia.
Oh god, look at this guy's nickname.
From Paraguay. What's his nickname?
Goku.
Well, I've seen worse.
Yeah, that's true.
Shouts out to fucking Corey Anderson. Oh shit! He has a loss to
Polo Reyes from Alliance.
This was the. Oh no! You know what? That wasn't the craziest fight of all time.
No, you're thinking the one with Maestro Kim.
Marco Polo Reyes had.
Yeah, Maestro Kim. Yeah. That was just at 197. That was fucking great.
Dude, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Also, Marco Polo Reyes out of Alliance MMA. So let's see. We got Why did I call him Goku? We got Goku versus Damian Brown. I have not heard of Damian Brown.
So let's go with Goku. No.
I've not heard of Goku either.
I know that's mean.
But
just based on who he's fought. But still.
I mean, he got knocked out in the first round by Marco Polo Reyes. And this dude.
This guy's just been mostly submitted.
I don't know this fight. I'm not picking.
Alright, well...
Let's go... Here, wait. I forgot to pull up best fight odds. Let's see what the odds are. If this is even at all. Let's go with the underdog. Don't do that.
It's right there.
Chris, also, we forgot our classic Sound of Violence drinking game.
Oh, shit.
Do you remember what it is?
No.
Well, this is going to be even better.
Fuck, well, I gotta drive.
Wow, this is gonna be fun. I hope you like Ubers. Alright, so the Sound of Violence drinking game. Chris.
Oh, I remember this, you son of a bitch.
Yep.
No, fuck that, dude. I got work in the morning, you asshole.
Well, the good news is fuck your work. Alright, so, you know, I won't do it on either of these guys, because that's just unfair. Why did we do that? Alright, so the odds on that first fight is basically dead even. It's minus 110 for Brown. Whatever. I don't know. I don't know either of these guys well enough. I'm excited to see him fight. If you fought Marco Polo Reyes and you got knocked out, no shame in that, because that dude's a beast. But going to decision in your first UFC fight is also impressive. So, excited to see both these guys. Alright, let's roll through. Fuck it. Damian Grabowski. That's a name I've heard. Versus Anthony Hamilton. Chris, go ahead and tell me what Damian Grabowski's last fight was.
No fucking idea.
It's Derek Lewis.
So, what do you know? The Black Beast himself.
I didn't know it either. Cheers.
Alright.
Always a good sign when you fight the Black Beast. Versus Anthony Hamilton. Anthony Hamilton's last fight, which I know you weren't going to know, so I just bailed on.
Shamil Abdurakhimov.
Sure, and then Daniel Omilanchek before that.
I recognize
Todd
that
Duffy.
name. That was that one Polish guy who wrestled the hell with that one old Russian dude who had like 60 fights. Yeah, that was like last card.
He just was on that.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Also, Ruan Potts, Todd Duffy.
Hey, we saw Todd Duffy get knocked out by Frank Mir last year. That was cool. In San Diego. That was fun.
Shouts out. That was a great
Wonder
card.
what he's up to today.
That was a great card. Sarah Moraes was on that.
Hey, Holly Holm was on that. Holy shit.
That was what...
Oh, Tony Ferguson was on that motherfucking card.
Yeah, he was fighting Josh Thompson.
Sam Cecilia, too. There was a couple names in there. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's some great fights on that card. Also, I had to break it to the people we were kicking with. I was like, yo, Tony Ferguson's going to win this. And I'm like, right, but the other guy's from San Diego. I'm like, right, but he's Tony Ferguson, though. Like, he's going to get a guillotine, and it's going to be ugly.
Goddamn,
and he just
tough
snatches the guillotine. I'm like, that's the shit. That's the shit.
Yep.
It was fucking... I was real drunk, also.
It's like, hey, that's what we get for actually watching Tough, though, man. It's, you know.
I did buy
even before that, too.
I did buy about 8 $12 beers that night, so
oh yeah,
made some real good decisions. All right, yeah, Grabowski, sure, heavyweights. One of them fought Lewis.
I'm gonna go with this guy because he fought Lewis.
Sure.
And this guy fought.
I'm gonna go with the other one because he made it to decision.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's
fuck it.
That's our great choices. Here, let's look at the odds for fun. They're not even there. Grabowski. Yeah, Grabowski, sure. I would go Grabowski. I would not bet it, but I'm going to do that.
Hear that? Go Lebowski.
All right, Michael Reyes versus... Here we go. Now it's some real goddamn
Bojan Velichok. Wasn't this the guy who just fought Gano?
I know, absolutely.
Or is there
not.
another Bojan?
Michael Graves is a 170 pounder.
Okay, never mind.
So
That's a different Bojan, guys. There's more than one Bojan.
Michael Graves is out of ATT. He was on the Ultimate Fighter season that was ATT versus Black Zillions.
Oh, yeah.
He's had a couple good performances recently. His Vincente Luque performance wasn't that impressive, but the one over Randy Brown was super sharp looking. He just looked on fire during that fight and really shut Randy Brown down. No rhyme intended.
So who's this Serbian guy, Bojan Veličković?
He's had one fight in the UFC versus Alessio Di Chirico. I don't know what that is.
So we got Michael Graves versus Nico Bellic.
Yep.
I would probably go with Michael Graves.
Absolutely great. I love that joke. Number one. Don't vote for Nico ever. And I'm absolutely on Graves on this one. Graves is one of my picks in the Monster Pick Challenge or whatever.
Is that one of those
MMA
things where they have
community.
online? Yeah.
The MMA community forums. They're doing where we pick 4 fights and pick the outcomes. I have Graves, I believe, by decision. And I think Graves is just going to basically just wear and tear him and piece him up. Maybe get the sub late. Also, that was Chris's phone, which means he has to take 3 drinks. Go!
That was actually my watch, you
That's
son of a bitch.
what I meant. I just recently listened to the editing that I did on the last podcast where I made a rule where Chris has to drink 3 times every time that happens.
I actually can't turn it off, so that means I guess I'm just going to have to not have my watch with me next time.
Even worse, you're going to have to drink until you remember to not wear it.
That too.
Also, I don't know if you've heard of these things called phones that have clocks on them. They're pretty helpful. All right.
Mr. Smartass over here.
Well, I got yolks. I got yolks for days. All right, where are we?
Wilson Hayes, who was supposed to fight Mighty
Freddie
Mouse.
Serrano. Almost.
Versus Freddie Serrano.
No, it's not ours.
I know, they went out too.
Serrano
from Colombia.
He is 2 fights in the UFC over
Mizuki,
2 dudes I've literally never heard of.
ZQ, yeah, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's one of the Tough China guys.
Didn't you say that season wasn't that good? I never tried watching.
I've never watched him. I just know the competitors out of there are not great. This dude fought Ben Nguyen, though.
Ben 10, yeah.
So that's pretty good. And Sergio Pettis. He has a win over Sergio Pettis.
Oh, well then guess what? I'm going to this guy.
Yeah, I'm going with Ryan Benoit also.
Babyface, Ryan Benoit. Yeah.
Benoit.
Benoit?
No, it's not like Chris Benoit.
Or the other Benoit?
No, he didn't kill his family and then himself.
Have steroid rage, yeah.
Right. He's clean for USADA. So
let me guess, one of them's probably one of them's French and one of them's French Canadian, probably 2 different pronunciations. I imagine.
Benoit is the Canadian one.
Oh, no wonder it sounds so wrong.
Or French one, I should say.
Yeah, whatever.
Lost Anthony Burchuk and then wins over Cody Fisser. Nope, that's not Fisser. What was that, Fuffer?
Fuller? Yeah, Fuller.
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 Sure. And then
Fuller.
went over Sergio Pettis. That was the one where he stopped Sergio Pettis in the same card where Anthony lost.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. What are the odds on that fight?
Where are we at? What the fuck?
Wait,
is it on here? Oh. It looks like Serrano's, the average looks like about minus...
favorite.
I'd say minus 120, because it could, yeah.
I don't know why. I like Benoit in that fight. Did I say Benoit or Benoit?
Whatever, I don't give a shit.
No, Benoit is the wrong one. Wait, no, Benoit is the balls. Benoit... I think it's Ryan
Just call him Benoit, just be extra
It is
wrong.
Benoit.
Just be extra wrong.
No, it is Ryan Benoit.
There's no fucking way, dude, but he's the way he spells that. There's no way that dude's name is Benoit. There's no fucking way. It's either Benoit
Ryan
or Benoit. There's no way, dude.
I'm pretty sure it's Ryan Benoit.
Whatever, we'll find an interview.
Yep. I'm gonna... Here, where's Kenny Florian when we need him?
Yeah. Alright, so Wilson Hayes was supposed to fight Mighty Mouse, unfortunately.
Which I think Wilson Hayes would have given him a way tougher battle than people give him credit for. Yeah. Wilson Hayes is tough as fuck.
By the way, shouts out to Alliance, of course.
Yeah, he was an early competitor in Bellator and like fucking Bellator 2 at like 135 or 145. Some crazy higher weight, maybe even 155 is way higher up. And he's a tough dude with really good jiu-jitsu. And coming off a win over Dustin Ortiz, which is a big win. Dustin Ortiz is a tough out. And he is fighting Hector Sandoval. Hector Sandoval coming off of wins off of Eloy Garza, who I've never heard of. I'm going to go with motherfucking Wilson Hayes. Deep and hard. No homo. He is also one of the picks that I picked in the Monsters Pick challenge thing on the MMA community. Mostly because it doesn't matter whether you pick favorites or not. So why the fuck would I not pick hella favorites that I'm sure are going to win? I like Wilson Hayes probably by late sub or ground and pound. Maybe by decision because they're light in weight. But Wilson Hayes is real scrappy on the ground, so I like him to be able to probably put paces on and maybe wear the dude out by the end. Alright. Since Chris seems to have nothing for that one, we'll jump into some fights he actually knows the people from.
Well, I know Ross Pearson. Is that the next one?
Yep.
He just lost a decision to Will Brooks in his UFC debut.
Pretty close decision.
It's pretty close. And then I know the other guy, Jorge Masvidal. I know it wasn't Yves Edwards. It was, that's what it is, Lawrence Larkin. I don't know why. I always get those guys mixed up. I know it started with the L, but I can't remember.
It's because it's what's the thing where it starts with the same letter twice?
Oh, yeah, alliteration, something like that kind of sort of.
Lawrence Larkin, Yves Edwards.
Yeah.
That's literally why I did that. Lorenz Larkin, he has a loss of Benson Henderson, which, I mean, dude, you could argue a lot of Jorge Masvidal's
But see, I remember this guy looked
wins.
fucking good, though, dude, in that fight.
He looks good in most fights. Here's the problem I have with this. Is he looks good in most fights except for decisions.
Yeah.
When it goes to decision and someone can wrestle, Jorge Masvidal gets fucked. Because he just does. He shuts down in the third round when he's ahead, and he just loses it every time. And I think Ross Pearson's going to just put the pressure on and steal the third round by making Jorge backpedal and
I have to agree
try
with that.
try for takedowns. So I like Ross in this one. I like Ross by decision.
Sounds about right.
Where we at?
Ed Herman?
Ross is a big underdog in this fight.
Oh, yeah.
To be fair, it's because Jorge's been up.
Here, why don't you expand that?
Yeah, it's because Jorge's been up at 170 previously, whereas Ross has been sticking at 155, and Ross is taking this on short notice. What?
Wait, fight. What does that mean, though, when it says that it's not a draw? Obviously, you wouldn't think it's a draw, but why is the odds like that?
The fight's not a draw, it's minus 4,500. Or 45,000. So you have to bet $45,000 to win $100.
Okay, never mind. That's what I thought. Because I was like, why would it be that high?
Yeah.
Why would anyone? If you have that money, good luck. But if you have
don't. If you have that kind of money, you should be smart enough to not.
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. But unless you're Floyd Mayweather.
I mean, the idea of doing Pearson by decision is not terrible. I kind of like it. Pearson by decision is what, plus 325 right now. I really like that. I might play that. Because I think Pearson's going to steal the third round and steal the fight. I don't see him finishing Jorge. Jorge's tough as fuck. I don't say Jorge finishing Ross because Ross is tough as fuck. I think it's going to go the distance. I think Ross might be able to steal it in the third round off takedowns. Man, I'm probably going to play that for a unit or two. Alright. Ed Herman versus...
Nikita?
Yep, Nikita Krylov. Nikita Krylov is a motherfucker. So, let me go ahead and pull up their shirt. Nikita Krylov.
I've heard of both these guys, but I can't remember who the fuck they fought.
Yep, so Nikita Krylov has fought a couple dudes, and he doesn't have a ton of experience in the UFC so far. Well, that's not true at all, actually. Was I thinking the other... what am I thinking of? Well, I guess he doesn't have a ton of high-end experience in the UFC. He's fought Vladimir Matyushenko, but that was at the end of Vladimir Matyushenko's career. He has a loss to Sil Paleli really early on, back in 2013.
Looks like he fought with Vince St. Preux.
Yep, has a loss to OSP. but due to a shoulder choke, which I'm don't necessarily know what that means, but that's a little concerning. But he does have wins over Walt Big Ticket Harris, Cody Donovan, and Marcos Rogerio de Lima, Francois Barroso. Like, those are some big names, all subs in the last 3, with a knockout behind that. Looking pretty sharp overall. Fighting Ed Herman. Ed Herman has a win over Tim Boach, where he cracked him with a knee in the second. Before that, he had lost to Derek Brunson, won over Rafael Antel, lost to Taos Leches, won over Trevor Hudson Smith, lost to Jacare Souza. Herman's been up and down. I always forget how tough Herman is. Like,
I'm gonna go with Herman. Fuck it, upset.
Really?
Yeah, upset. Why not? I would just say via decision because it's kind of the norm.
So I went with Krylov, I believe, by second round sub. But
See, that's a good bet too, though.
the only reason is because I don't see Silva catching him.
Wait.
Herman rather catching him.
Yeah, no. See the underdog odds. The over odds aren't even that.
Still,
good. Yeah.
plus 200 for Ed isn't bad because he hits so fucking hard. Let's see, Krylov by sub is plus 384. That's not
what's
bad.
Herman by decision?
Herman by decision?
Is he even available?
Yeah, 5'10". But I don't see him ever winning by decision now because he's gonna be on his back if it goes that long. What's Herman by knockout? 818. That's not bad, actually.
That's a good one.
Herman hits fucking hard. That's possible.
It's definitely playable.
I'm probably going to play... I'll maybe throw a unit on Krylov by his sub. Just because I think he might be able to wear out Ed and catch him in something. But I think that's going to be a scrappy, fun fight. Speaking of scrappy, fun fights, up next, we have one of the most scrappy ones on the card. Francisco Rivera and Eric Perez. Francisco Rivera coming off a knockout from Thomas Almeida. Nope, I lied. Why did I say that? It was the Brad Pickett knockout. Same card is why.
Oh, that's why.
It was the same card as the one where Thomas Almeida flying kneed that dude.
Wait, which guy?
Back in February. It was the one where I was in, just got back from New Orleans.
Wait, who? Oh, yeah, but I can't remember the name of the guy that made it. Yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm talking about?
I can't remember his name, though.
I can't either. That's why I couldn't spit it out.
He was another Brazilian guy.
I think so, yeah.
Who knows? But
Francisco Rivera is back. The Brad Pickett card. Brad Pickett is tough as nails, and the fact that you go to decision with him is always a good sign. Even if you win. And losing by split, there's no real shame in that shit because he's a good wrestler. This dude, however, has fought some really goddamn tough competition. Eric Perez.
Shouts out to Alliance.
Yeah.
Again.
The one knock on Eric Perez is he hasn't fought since November of last year, and then before that it was June of 2014, where he lost to Brian Caraway.
Shit.
Versus Eric Perez has a loss in February of this year and a loss in September of last year.
Yeah.
Sorry, Francisco. What did I say?
You said Eric. We just talked about Eric. That's
I mixed them up.
It's all good.
This is a kind of a tough pick. I lean towards Francisco Rivera.
I say don't touch it.
I'm not gonna.
If it's worth betting, don't touch it.
I always say on this podcast, I always lean against an activity. Like, if someone's been inactive, I always pick against it.
Just based on... I would just say, if I were to just choose, I'd probably say, I guess, Rivera by decision. That's usually my safe go-to thing if I don't know how the fuck they're going to fight it out. Just feel like their styles seem a little different.
Yeah, I could see that, for sure.
I feel like they're going to just do the whole fight just ridding each other. Something like that, and just playing it safe. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe one of them throws heat and connects. I don't know. I haven't seen them fight enough, so I can't really be the judge.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of Eric Perez being able to go out and just put a pace on Francisco Rivera, put him on his back consistently, and win the fight. I hate layoffs. I bet against layoffs all the fucking time because layoffs bother me. Man, I just can't pick. I would, if I had to pick, I would go with Cisco, but man, I'm not touching this fight.
Yeah, it's
at
not
all.
like a confident pick. That's how.
So Jake Ellenberger, Matt Brown. I'm fucking hyped for this fight. This is a team all violence fight.
I was gonna say last time I saw Ellenberger, the Juggernaut fight, was when he fought Wonder Boy, and he was like karate.
Didn't go well.
He was like karate. That's funny. Haha. Yeah.
That didn't go well for him.
It was funny, so he was right.
Not in the way he meant, though.
But I mean, you know what I mean. Like he was right though. It was funny the way it ended.
Well, again, not in the way he meant.
But yeah.
Yeah, he is coming off tough losses from Stephen Thompson and Tarek Safadine. He did
Oh
win.
my God, he's
It's concerning when your last two wins.
You're
were,
1-6.
Yeah.
In the last 7 fights.
When your last two wins were
But
Koscheck
then again,
and
look who he's
Marquardt.
fought though too. Jesus Christ.
Right, but his last two wins were Koscheck in 2015 and Marquardt in 2013.
Oh my.
It's tough, but yeah, he's fought nothing but title contenders basically since then. Since Marquardt, basically, it's nothing but title contenders. Apart from Koscheck, who got the win over. Man, this is another really tough one. I like Matt Brown in this fight, but I can't tell just because I like Matt Brown a lot. There's a problem I have with picking guys like Matt Brown. It's like my pick for Jessamine Duke on the website. I like Jessamine Duke too much to not pick Jessamine Duke in the fight. I just can't do it.
You know what? Still, I'm going Matt Brown.
I'm going Matt Brown too, but I don't know if it's because I like Matt Brown or if it's because I think he's actually going to win.
I'm going Matt Brown because not that bullshit thing that Jake Ellenberger's do because he won 6. I just think Matt Brown because I just think he's a better. He matches up better.
I agree. I think Matt Brown just kind of is able to land more
and plus, he's
punches.
going to be rocking that sweet Chuck Liddell haircut too. If you haven't seen him lately,
I have not. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, welcome to our podcast art for next week's episode. I'm excited for that. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the next one. Oh wait, we haven't been playing the drinking game for any of these.
Oh yeah, lucky me, right?
All right, Matt Brown and Jake Ellenberger. What were the last fights?
Well, Matt Brown just fucking lost to Maya because Maya's a submission guy. Like I said, I didn't know who Ellenberger was because the last fight I saw him fight was against Thompson, so don't know that one.
Last fight Ellenberger fought was against Safadine. So that's a drink. You were right about Brown, and then we'll do Rivera and Perez. Who's the last person Rivera fought?
Oh fuck, if I remember.
We just looked at these.
Yeah,
so.
but I forgot already, dude.
I did too. Too many names. All right, well, take a drink for Brad Pickett. Cheers. And take a drink for Taylor Lopoulos.
No one would guess that. Fuck that.
Also, Matt Brown is currently minus
wow, he's
245 favorite.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I can see that. Jake Ellenberger hasn't looked real impressive recently.
Yeah, 1-6.
One of my favorite fights of the entire weekend, if not the entire card, Rose Namajunas, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Rose Namajunas has been talking a lot about this fight coming into it, just about where she's at and how her training has been picking up a lot coming out of Colorado, because she's training at Elevation now.
Yep.
And Rose has been talking a lot about how she's starting to learn how to throw fucking heat on the ground and use her punches in transition.
Just does that ground and pound.
Which sounds so fucking dangerous.
I was going to say, sounds dangerous for the rest
Especially
of
after that Paige Van Zandt fight.
Yeah.
Like, dude, because the way she wrestle fucked Paige Van Zandt, man, I just think that, and she said in some of the interviews, I believe it was on the UFC Unfiltered podcast, maybe. She said, I expect that we'll probably start seeing a lot more TKOs and KOs on my record going forward. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this fight. I think she's going to be able to take Karolina down and get top position and work to mount and pound her out fucking in devastating fashion. I don't think Karolina is going to turn and give her a neck. I think she's probably just going to get TKO'd just by fucking domination from Rose. But I don't see a way where Rose doesn't close the distance and just shut this shit down. Just in the way she's done in her last few fights. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm going with Rose too, but I'm trying to think how. I mean, you gotta give credit to Kovacevic. She's undefeated, but, and the line's kind of close. So, I want to be safe and say decision, but you know what? I could see Rose by TKO. Or submission. I say submission. Submission, like, what is it, 3-round fight?
Submission is probably the smart bet.
I say submission, like
Rose by TKO is 870 right now. I'm gonna put some money on that. That's fucking. I really like that. Rose by sub is plus 350. Way more reasonable.
Yeah.
But I just like her to get the ground and pound finish. She's been talking so much about her ground and pound in these interviews. It's gonna. I have a similar take on the main event, but man, just how much she's discussed every time you hear her talk about her improvements she's made, she always says, "I hit so much harder and more effectively in transition on the ground now, and I think it's really gonna make the difference. You're gonna start seeing a lot more finishes." I'm like, I just think she's gonna start fucking mollywhopping girls, because that was one thing she didn't do against Paige. Is she didn't try to beat her up too bad. Like, I mean, she did beat the fuck out of her on the ground.
On the ground, yeah.
But not like...
She wore her out.
Right. But
yeah.
like,
but like you say, she's going to utilize her striking more because she's confident in it.
From what she's been describing, she's gotten way better at it. So, should be interesting. I'm excited for the fight more than anything. And then lastly, we are to the main event.
The main event of the evening.
I'm going to take a shot. Fuck it. Because I hate my sleep schedule. Oh yeah, shout out to Pop Off. Why did I do this to myself? As soon as I committed to that, I was like, this is the worst idea.
Dude, don't you have work earlier than me tomorrow?
Nope, because it's Saturday, bitch.
Okay, never mind.
All I have to do is go hang out with a girl tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.
6 a.m., that's still early though. But at least you don't have to work.
Because I date bakers, dog. They get off at like 6 a.m.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's almost like a graveyard shift.
It's literally a graveyard shift, yeah. 9 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Jesus.
It's a death shift.
Well,
alright, Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley.
Did you say Tyrone or Tyron?
I said Tyron.
I'm fucking with you. I know it's we all know it's Tyron. We're just being like, everyone knows Tyrone.
I don't call him Din Thomas either, fuckface.
Hey, I never said Din Thomas. I never did once try to say Dean Thomas. I don't know where that's coming from. Probably the little motherfuckers who said Din. Which, I get it though, because that's how the dude spells it, but Dean Tyron. Anyways, this fight, main event of the evening, happening July 30th at the Phillips Arena or whatever in Atlanta, Georgia? I don't know, something like that.
Yep.
It's in Atlanta. Hot Atlanta, more like it, because fuck, it's summer.
Nope, not hot Atlanta.
Well, it's hot as fuck there. I'm just trying to be clever, and it's not clever, because too many people fucking say
it was clever in like 2002 when Nelly was making songs about it.
Yeah, see, I wasn't even thinking of that, but... Maybe because I was thinking of assholes on like ESPN saying that bullshit when they're doing NFL predictions.
Maybe it's because I had to fucking hear karaoke last night where someone did Hot in Her.
Oh, shit.
Oh, actually, as a matter of fact, I had to help someone do Hot in Her because they were fucking blacked out.
See, that sounds kind of like entertaining in a way because it's like, it's sad that you're helping someone, but it's kind of funny.
I don't know that song well enough, though.
Well, who cares, dude? It doesn't matter. It's hilarious either way.
Just a lot of like, with a little bit of and a little bit of... That's like half that song. A lot of that. Alright, anyway. Tyron Woodley, Robbie Lawler. Here, let's go ahead and pull out the recent fights.
Okay, let me guess. Okay. Obviously, Robbie Lawler last fought Carlos Condit in January at UFC 195. That was a... Was it split? I know... Yes, it was split because a lot of people thought Carlos Condit won that fight. However, for some fucked up reason, I didn't even watch that fight because I don't know where I was. My head was up my ass. That's why I didn't watch that fight.
You've still never seen it?
No, because I'm dumb.
It's really good. You should watch that.
Oh, I know.
So you're saying Robbie, right?
And I know Tyron Woodley hasn't fought since January of 2015. And if I remember correctly, he fought Kelvin Gastelum, who had missed weight during that fight, but it was still close, which was kind of embarrassing for Tyron Woodley.
Who was he supposed to fight in the interim?
I believe it was Johnny Hendricks. And he missed weight, right?
Steakhouse King?
Yep. Yeah, because I remember Tyron Woodley said Johnny was eating too much steak in the steakhouse.
Yep. Absolutely. You nailed all that. So I'll take drinks for those. Yeah, absolutely. So Robbie Lawler, like Chris said, coming off wins over Carlos Condit, Roy McDonald, John Hendricks, and Matt Brown.
And you know why I won't
Devastating
call...
motherfucking
I was going to say, you know
wins.
why I won't call that win against Carlos Condit controversial? Because guess what? Never leave the fight in the hands of the judges. Fuck you if that happens. Well, not fuck you, but if that happens to you, it happens. Whatever, you know what I mean? You can only blame yourself. Sorry. That's the way I look at it, man. It's kind of fucked up, but... You know what I mean? You know how people try to say, oh, he got robbed? I mean, it has to be clear-cut if that happens. You know what I mean?
Yep. And then...
And that wasn't clear-cut enough, at least from what... Yeah.
True. And then, so Robbie is fighting Tyron, who... Tyron has a weird history. Tyron fought once since 2014, which was Kelvin Gastelum. Before that, he had a win over Dong Young Kim, lost to Roy McDonald.
Zombie Kim, right? Because the other Dong Kim's Maestro, who's the featherweight.
Sun Gun.
Fuck, I always get those guys mixed up. Who
Zombie is the Korean Zombie, TKZ.
Oh, I'm so... Okay,
that's Chan Sung Jung.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, Dong Young Kim is the Sun Gun.
Oh, Stun Gun and then Maestro.
Exactly.
My bad, yeah.
Yeah, and then, so Roy, he had the loss to Roy McDonald back in 2014, and then the win over Carlos Condit.
It wasn't that because
Josh
Condit,
Koscheck.
like, broke his leg or something like that, or fucked something up?
Yeah, leg kick. Or Condit, the Condit.
Condit broke his leg or something like that.
It basically blew his ACL out on a leg kick. And yeah, I mean, dude, Tyron has looked like a motherfucking murderer in there recently. Also, I believe it was on Cheap Seats. They were talking about how Robbie Lawler would maybe be the most terrifying man in the world if he was allowed to fight in Pride rules. Because he just, the way he mollywops people and then clearly has an option to kick them in the face after they fall down is like, would be the worst of all time because he always drops people against the cage. So if he could just sprint up and punt them, like, people would die. Is what I believe Cheap Seats was the one talking about it. I like Robbie, and I mean I like Woodley in this, and here's the reason why. Woodley, in every interview he's done so far, most notably his own podcast and the Chill Sonnen podcast, Woodley. Oh, and an interview Woodley did with MMA Fighting with Ariel, a video interview. They posted, I believe, on the MMA Underground and on the MMA community. They talked about where Woodley consistently keeps saying, I'm not going to stand and trade with Robbie Lawler. That would be dumb as fuck. Why the fuck would I go and put myself in the least advantageous position
I
ever?
remember he said that in his podcast.
He just keeps saying that over and over in every interview he does.
So
he's like, well, I hit Robbie Lawler in the face really hard over and over.
This is the thing. I agree with you. I'm going with Tyron too. I think it's going to be a wrestling match. Unfortunately for all those who want to see a striking exchange, yes, there will be striking. However, that will be early on, I feel like.
I think it's going to be the opposite.
Oh, no. You're right. Now I think it'll be late because Woodley will wear him out with the wrestling in the beginning, and at the end of the fight, it's going to be like, fuck, I need to knock this dude out.
I think it might be the other way. I think Woodley is going to take the early rounds, maybe 1 through 3, with the wrestling and some ground and pound, and then I think Robbie's going to come back strong in 4th and 5th and try to steal it back.
But it's still
is so good at.
But do you think it's still going to be like too little too late, 48, 47 Woodley?
It's never too late for Robbie Lawler.
Well, yeah, because 5th round Robbie. Yeah, 5th round Robbie. Yeah.
I literally...
just look at the fucking fight against Rory.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I even posted online. I was like, I like Woodley by decision. He's saying everything right, and he's game planning everything correctly from everything I've heard. But I can't bet against 5th round Robbie because he's a goddamn monster.
So are you saying your pick is Woodley by decision, but just don't bet?
My pick is Woodley by...
I'd say split, one of those weird ones, dude, because I feel like that's kind of a common thing now with the Robbie fights, because they're always usually pretty bangers.
My pick is Woodley by split decision.
I agree with you 100%. I'm going Woodley by split, too.
I don't think it's going to happen that way. I think it's going to be Robbie by split, because Robbie always wins the 4th and 5th.
Yeah.
And it's so dynamic.
It'll kind of cater to the judges, do you think?
I mean, he's the judge's favorite, just because he comes on so hard in the late rounds.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love everything about this fight. Both these dudes are super classy and just salt of the earth. Every interview they do is super funny in very, very different ways. Tyron Woodley's just super funny, charismatic. Robbie Lawler looks like he... there was actually... Everybody go check out... subscribe to the MMA... Nope. The Co-Main Event podcast newsletter. the Friday brunch or whatever the fuck they call that shit. They send you an email every Friday where they just break down any news that happened during the week, as well as any interesting articles they did. And they, I believe they did the different emotions of Robbie Lawler this week, where it's just the same picture of Robbie Lawler looking upset and also angry at like an interviewer, and they just did like a bunch of different emotions over the same picture. So they're like, Robbie Lawler angry, like Robbie Lawler pontificating, Robbie Lawler considering beating you
But it
up.
sounds like those guys would do that.
Yeah, it's fucking real solid.
All I'll say on this card is, even if this fight is one of the best fights in, say, of this year, I think no matter what, unfortunately for the winner of this fight, you're gonna be fighting Wonder Boy, no matter what. I'm sorry.
Oh
there's
yeah,
no
winner
way you're
gets
not.
Wonder Boy.
Yeah, there's no way you can't do that.
Yeah.
Just based on what unless what?
Lawler wins and they give him Diaz, because Diaz's suspension ends Saturday.
Yeah, the 31st. Yeah, that's right. Well, no, Sunday then.
Sunday.
Yeah, fuck it.
Same thing. Yeah, because...
See, I think, well, okay.
Dude, how much money would you make if you did Nick Diaz?
To the integrity,
Lawler?
It'd be dumb if you gave it to Diaz.
Oh, yeah? How do you feel about the integrity of Dan Henderson and Michael Bisping?
Dude, listen, dude, why do you think I'm fucking saying this? To the integrity, for all those who give a fuck about that, it'd be wrong. However, for business, it'd be fucking fantastic, and hell yeah, I'd want to see that fight too. That's why I'm of course I'm saying this. That's why I'm saying I would love to see that fight. But for those who are about, oh, what about the rankings, the integrity, blah, 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 Wonder Boy's earned his shot. I mean, if you ask me straight up, Wonder Boy should get the shot no matter what. That's just me. But I would still like to see Nick Diaz fight, because that'd be fucking great.
I agree, but what if you do Wonder Boy Woodley and Diaz Lawler? Or what if Lawler loses and you do Wonder Boy Woodley, Lawler Diaz?
It'd actually even be better, because
Yeah,
Wonder
it
Boy
would be
still gets
better.
his title shot, and he probably wins.
Yep.
My opinion, and then he still get fucking long.
So
So,
if
you know what?
Woodley-
Let's go, Willie.
So, yeah, well, I
Let's
already
go.
am, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, fuck yeah, yeah. That's a good point. Let's go, Woodley. We'd love to see that shit.
I mean, I overall, I'm just hyped for this fight in general. I think it's just going to be a really, really close, scrappy fight. I think we're going to learn a lot about both these dudes in this one. Woodley, let's see, by decision is plus 420. Boom. Already decided.
There's a sign right there.
I'm betting that. I'll throw a unit on that. No fucking questions asked. Yeah, I like Woodley in this, man. I it's not reasonable. I think Robbie should take it. I think Robbie will stop him at some point with something flashy, or Tyron will gas. But I just everything. Tyron Woodley said everything right going into this fight. Every interview he's done, every game planning, anything I've ever heard him say is absolutely the right answer. And so I
just trust
I
his
just can't pick
confidence in the way
against
he's
him.
prepared. Yeah, that's why it's gonna be a pretty damn close fight.
Either way, it's going to be fucking awesome. So, I can't wait, because Robbie Lawler is the minister of violence, as it's been well established in the UFC. So, I'm just hyped for this card. Is there anything else specifically you want to discuss on this one before we close it out?
That's it for me.
That's it for me, too. Well, fuck it. Here, cheers. I will kill this beer. We'll do have a recap of UFC 201. Also, I will finally get that motherfucking episode from last week up before you hear this. It's been a pain in the ass, but it'll finally be out. So, look for all of that. And I guess until next week, bitches, tweet us at SOV Pod on Twitter. Chris is going to start handling that Twitter account. So,
Yes.
check that out. Also, we should be going live on iTunes here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully, assuming we get approved by iTunes. So, we are going to start that process, so we'll be live. Actually, you can sub to us and all of that. And until next time, go do something decadent. We out. Bye.